and the mariachi They will lead us in the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll follow that by a moment of solemn expression by Pastor Rod Randall from Harbor Trinity. Okay.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly reads at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were clear, their bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. If everyone could please join us in the flag salute. Turn over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Please join me for the moment of solemn expression. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless tonight's meeting. Thank you for everyone who is in attendance. We know that the government is established by you, and we are so grateful for the freedom we have to be a part of it. Thank you for the residents who are here to share their views and concerns. Please bless their words and those who listen. Guide their words, Lord. May there be consideration and respect shown to everyone. And dear Lord, we thank you so much for the youth and the children who are here tonight and the wonderful contribution they make to our community. And we thank you for our city council and city officials. They don't serve because they must, but because they are willing. Please give them wisdom from above, discernment and energy to complete all the tasks at hand. Lord, thank you that we can call Costa Mesa our home. It is truly a beautiful and blessed city. We don't take that for granted. We are grateful for what we have and for meetings like these that help make our city even better. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. City Clerk, may we please have the roll call?
Let the record reflect that all council members are present.
Okay, City Attorney, is there a closed session report, Ms. Barlow?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Direction was given on all the items on the closed session agenda this evening. No reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you. And now comes time in the meeting for the fun presentations. And at this time, we are going to welcome all of the players and coaches from both our Costa Mesa American and Costa Mesa National Little League All-Star teams who played in the 2019 Mayor's Cup. And as you can see, they're all sitting up here in the front. There's a lot of players here tonight, and that's because in addition to the All-Stars, we have some other players, I think, on this side of the room and in the maybe outside. We are also honoring two teams from Costa Mesa American Little League for their Tournament of Champions victories. We're going to talk more about them later. So as to the Mayor's Cup, the two teams face off yearly in the best-of-3 series between these friendly intercity rivals. This year, Costa Mesa National League won 2 straight games, with the final game ending in exciting fashion as Peyton Thomas, the only girl in the league, hit a walk-off home run for a 2-1 victory. Woo! Girl power! Okay. I love that. Okay, this is the Nationals' 14th victory in the 23-year history of the Mayor's Cup. We have 2 great little leagues in Costa Mesa, and we're not only proud of all the players and coaches, but also all of the parents and the community volunteers and the sponsors who make Little League Baseball in Costa Mesa such a great family experience. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite the coaches to come up to the podium, and with the players, maybe you can, not sure how we'll do that, there's so many, but maybe line up, and we're going to present to you some certificates and some other items and give you an opportunity to say a few words if you would like. And then we'll take a picture. Okay, we have Coach Vasquez from the Costa Mesa American Little League. So, Coach Vasquez, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say a few words to the community, and we'd love to have all the players come on up here, and we have certificates for you, and then we'll take a picture. Players? Yeah.
Boys, come on up.
You just have them line up.
Boys, can we line up right here, please? Do you want me to introduce them? Or? Sure.
You could give us certificates later and just introduce them because you know the names.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's easier. Yeah, thank you.
Is this thing on? So, just real quick, I want to say this is my son's last year in the season. His last season in the league, and he started in T-ball. We've been here for I think 8 years, so we've had a blast. It's been fun, and we've been competing against nationals, and it's always been great. He's got a lot of friends on that side, and Dean, I met you back in minor B, and it's been great competing against you. So we're gonna lose. You know, it's easier to swallow here. You guys have been great. It's been fun. But to the league, there's a lot of memories over the years, and it's been great. And it really is a great community here in Costa Mesa. We've played in other cities, and you know, sometimes it's kind of questionable. Here, there's such great families and great support from the city, and it's been fun, and it's been a great experience. And I just want to say thank you on my way out here. Now I'm a Costa Mesa Pony, but in my final year at Costa Mesa Little League, thank you to the parents on both sides, Nationals and Costa Mesa American, for the memories and the experience. It's been great. Thanks so much. Now, really quickly, I'd like to introduce all the boys. I'm just going to go down the line real quick. And here, starting off, is Michael B. How do you say your last name, Michael? Michael Vasilu. Aiden Comte. Will Clark. My son, Isaiah Vasquez. Brady Tonko. Isaiah Mamian. What's your name again? It's been so long. Kanan Thompson. I'm sorry, Kanan. I'm having a tough time here. Mr. Ramirez here, my assistant coach's son. Tristan Ramirez. Damian Martinez. Got Owen Deaver. Ian McDermott. Our star pitcher, Brendan Borg, over there. My assistant coach, Devin Clark. And somewhere, my other assistant coach, Mario Ramirez, is here somewhere too. There he is. Mario is also the manager for the Minor B TOC Championship team. So he's doing double duty.
Where's the team mom? Where's team mom?
Team mom. Oh, that's right. Actually, you're not my coach. Wrong team. It's Brad McDermott. Your dad's the assistant coach. I'm sorry. I got two teams. Had a long day. Team mom. My wife Anna Vasquez has helped out a lot here. I think that's about it. Thank you so much.
All right, well, wonderful. Congratulations, boys, and thanks to all the parents who helped make Little League in Costa Mesa such a great experience. I know my son played Little League, and, it's always a fun time. And I know Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, he's the biggest Little League fan up on the council. So let's take a quick picture, okay? Picture? Yeah.
Tony's ready. Stay here because after we'll do one big one.
Okay, now we have the National Little League Mayor's Cup winners. Did you want to say a few words? Okay, here you go. I'll give you this, and then maybe. Okay, you just want to introduce them? Sure. Okay. You need this to introduce them, because otherwise, it won't get onto the speaker. Okay, scooch down a little bit, boys, okay, and girl.
All right, here we go. I'm manager, Coach Dean, and this is
Peyton Thomas.
Cole Wilder,
Tristan Smith.
Ivan Smith, Miles Dodge, Noah Nevins, Nicholas Viramontes, Sawyer Atkinson, Xavier Shota, Jake Humphries,
Harrison North.
Cooper Cirillo, Jackson Smith.
Coach Dan.
Okay, Coach is shy, but he wants to thank all the parents and all the community and all the support and all the players for supporting the National Little League and for bringing home the Mayor's Cup. So let's take a picture.
Good job, Coach. Well said.
What? Oh, yeah. That's actually reflecting off of that one thing.
Maybe take a knee. You know the old Little League knee, right?
Okay, can we move this on out?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
your
so
time.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, if we can have it a little bit quiet, we're going to finish up the ceremony. Now we have the Costa Mesa American League Tournament of Champions Minor B Division. Coach? Is the coach here?
Oh, these are the cute ones. I mean, they're all cute. Bitty bitty.
Congratulations. Here's your certificates, and here's the microphone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you want to say a few words and then introduce your team.
I just want to say thank you to the parents and to the league, and the boys did an amazing job. We just tell them to try their hardest, be good teammates, stay positive, good effort, and good things will happen. And what do you know? TOC happened. We'll go ahead and introduce these kids. Do like things.
My name's Mason Duncan. My name's Attila and Karish. My name's Noah Jane. My name's Wyatt Miller. My name's Vaughn Deere. My name is Jordan Lee. My name's Dylan Hugan. My name is Anderson Schaefer. My name's Charlie Santos. My name is Aiden Wells. Kellen Mazer. Brenton Rott Schaefer. Aiden Ramirez.
Corey Hugan.
Coach Brian.
Also, the president of CMAL. Oh, also the president of CMAL.
Oh, okay. Great. So what I'd like to do is ask the council to come down for the picture with the Minor B Division Tournament of Champions from Costa Mesa American League. Council. Okay, now we have the Costa Mesa American League Tournament of Champions Majors Division. Coach? I'm going to make a suggestion that we hold the applause for the players until the end so everyone can hear each player's name.
And they asked to introduce themselves, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it down. Real quick, though, this is the first time that Costa Mesa American Little League has won a TOC championship in 12 years. And we brought home not one, but 2 banners this year, so that's pretty impressive. Good job, boys. So introduce yourselves, pass it down. Here we go.
Isaiah Mamian.
I'll do it.
Tristan Ramos. Bradley Hillman. Michael Bewley. Brennan Borg. Aiden Compty.
Isaiah Vasquez.
Brady Tomko. Ben Malika. Caden Oliver. Jacob Roland to Slava.
Coach Mario.
Okay, We're going to ask you boys to take one step forward. We're going to bring in the banner, and we have the council stand right behind you.
Can I just say a few words?
And Mayor Pro Tem Stevens is going to say a few words.
Hey, folks, before we take the picture, because then everybody's going to disperse, I just want to recognize how important this is. So the coach says that the league hasn't won in 12 years, but in fact, there's only been one other time that a Costa Mesa team has won the Tournament of Champions. The league has been around since 1995. In 2005, Jeff Hirsch's team, the Angels, Jeff passed away in 2017, they won. They're the only other team that's won. There's never been two teams from one Costa Mesa league. So I coached in this league from 1998 to 2004. Your teams will be remembered and will go down in Costa Mesa history, and someday some council member will be talking about your team. So you should be very proud of this. Parents, it's a big deal. This is for the green team. Blue guys are over here. That's the Sox, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Got it.
Thank you so
There
much.
should be one
everyone.
for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Put them up right on.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, that was exciting. So let's see. Okay, we have another presentation tonight. And this is, we have a presentation from Ms. Kathleen Rockney, who is Miss Senior Orange County of 2019, and Elvia Harris, the State Pageant Director. The Miss Senior California Pageant is a vehicle for celebrating women over the age of 60, and we're excited to hear their presentation regarding the organization and the great work that they do. Ms. Rockney?
So we had youth, and now we have the seniors.
That's Costa Mesa.
And as large as I printed this, I am going to have to be a senior and use my reading glasses. Honorable Mayor Foley and honorable members of the City Council, thank you so much for allowing us to speak today. I am so excited to share with you a little bit about this pageant. Ms. Senior California State Pageant is the nation's largest senior pageant honoring and bringing recognition to women over the age of 60. California is the only pageant with preliminary pageants. So we had in 2019, we had a preliminary pageant in San Diego, in Palm Springs, and in Orange County. And then the winner and the first runner-up of each of those went to state in June for the state pageant. In the past, we've had pageants, preliminaries, in Los Angeles, Long Beach, Ventura County, and even Sacramento. Now, what this means is that in other states, because the person who wins state then goes to Atlantic City, New Jersey, for Ms. Senior America. And in other states in the nation, when they take part, they pick one city. Everybody goes to that state pageant, and the winner gets to go to New Jersey. But in California, we feel like we're even more prepared because in the preliminary pageant, we're doing what will then happen at state and what will then happen in New Jersey. So a little bit more information about it. Miss Senior America pageant is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It is held in Atlantic City each year, and this title, once you get to state and then go to national, and if you win, you are Ms. Senior America. We don't have a Burt Parks, but we do have a wonderful celebration there. The criteria for entering, if anyone is interested, is that you must be 60 years of age or older, be a U.S. citizen, and a resident of the state of California. So someone in Orange County could be in a preliminary pageant in Palm Springs because they may be wanting to go to Palm Springs to then vie for state. This is really interesting, too. We're very much like Miss America in terms of what criteria we go through. We have a personal interview with 5 judges, and then we recite a philosophy of life that is about a 35-second philosophy. And then we have an evening gown walk on stage by ourselves while our biography is being read, which is a wonderful honor because, you know, once you hit 60, you've got a lot of things to be proud of. And then we have a talent presentation. Another interesting thing about the Miss Senior pageant is that talent presentation is not just about performance art. It's not just about singing, dancing, doing a monologue, being a puppeteer. If you are a woman over 60 and you're maybe a wonderful artist, you can set up on the stage at the pageant some of your favorite artwork and use your 2 minutes and 45 seconds to talk about your artwork. So it's a wonderful way to really celebrate what we've done in our lives. Now, a lot of times people are intimidated about getting into the pageant because they see the final result, and I was very excited to win on March 30th and then to celebrate that win and go on to state in June. In June, I did make first runner-up, and I tied for Miss Congeniality, and it was an amazing experience. I chose dancing, and this is a big part of the pageant, that you get to celebrate something in your life that you're really proud of and that you do well. I had the talent of dancing as a child, but I never really got to follow through. And when I danced on stage in March, that was the first time in over 30 years that I'd been on stage dancing, and it was the first time ever that I'd done it as solo. And that was a hip-hop dance to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. So that was a little piece of my journey. I also want people to feel like if you're listening or you're in the audience and you're thinking about this or wanting to share this with other people, this is not about being perfect. When I made the decision to get in the pageant, I was 66 years old. I'm now 67. And I made the decision, and then life got in the way. And that's part of the journey of being a senior. Life gets in the way sometimes. I had made the decision, but before I actually put in my application, we had a medical crisis with one of my pets that ended up costing several $1,000s. And I had about a 6-week illness. But there was something that happened in my brain that just said, if not now, when? And so I jumped in and decided I'm going to find a way of doing this. And one of the other things we're able to do in this pageant is find sponsors. You do not have to be a wealthy person to be in this pageant. I wore a dress that's over 10 years old. I wore shoes that I already had, earrings that I already had, bought a $14 bracelet at Kohl's. I had a real estate friend who paid for my entry fee. I had another friend who paid for headshots. And it was truly a village that got me there. So when I celebrated on that stage, I felt so blessed to have had an army of people behind me. And that's what we seniors bring to the history of America, is an army behind us So again, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this. I truly, truly want, I want to encourage women that are 60 years or older to look at this. Elvia, what is the website? www.MsSeniorCalifornia.net. Please look into it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, and then council, part of Miss Senior Orange County's job is to go around the community and take pictures with local officials. So if we would come down and have a picture with her, she would appreciate that. Looks like they saved all of the presentations up for one night. So we've got one more. So at this time, I would like to recognize that this month, beginning on Sunday, October 15th, is National Hispanic Heritage Month. And National Hispanic Heritage Month is a recognition of the contributions of our Hispanic community in Costa Mesa. And as a result, tonight I proclaim Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Costa Mesa to last until October 15th. This proclamation will be on display in the lobby of City Hall until October 15th. And so at this time, I'll read the proclamation. Hold on, it's a little long. And this was a proclamation that was jointly prepared by several members of our council and the mayor's office. So, National Hispanic Heritage Month has roots dating back to 1968 with the establishment of National Hispanic Heritage Week, and it was updated in 1988 to encompass a full month. The period begins on the anniversary of independence of 5 Latin American countries: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Mexico and Chile and Belize also celebrate their independence days during this period. Whereas the city of Costa Mesa is made up of 36.5% residents of Hispanic heritage, in 2018 elected its first council members of Hispanic heritage in its history, and in 2019 hired its first woman city manager who is of Hispanic heritage. And whereas the period of September 15th to October 15th, 2019 will be celebrated across the United States by act of Congress and proclaimed by the President as Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas Hispanic Costa Mesans, through their spirit, energy, investments, entrepreneurship, and leadership, strongly contribute to the richly diverse culture and the achievements of our community. And whereas our Hispanic community, representing many countries and cultures, includes those with ancestors who've been here for many generations, alongside new arrivals to Costa Mesa. And whereas this month, so designated, will remind us to reflect on and celebrate and embrace the diversity in our community, which strengthens us, and strive to ensure that all Costa Mesans are fully represented and empowered. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Katrina Foley of the City of Costa Mesa, do hereby proclaim the 31-day period beginning September 15th and ending on October 15th, 2019 to be Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Costa Mesa, and call upon all Costa Mesans to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. Presented on the 17th day of September. We have a variety of activities that are happening in Costa Mesa, beginning with one on Wednesday night at Avila's El Ranchito. And I want to give an opportunity for Councilmember Reynolds, if you'd like to speak and share some of the activities that you've been taking the lead on helping to put together for this month. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I'm really excited. I think there are flyers in the back of the room, so you can grab one on your way out of the building today. But we have an event tomorrow night to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month. This is at everyone's favorite Mexican restaurant, Avila's El Ranchito on Placentia Avenue from 5 to 7 p.m. tonight. It's a networking event co-hosted by the owner of Avila's El Ranchito and by the Costa Mesa Chamber of Commerce. Many of us will be there. Many in the community will be there. And council members Mar and Chavez and myself will be honoring 3 unsung heroes making a difference in our community. So we welcome you to join us tomorrow. Please just RSVP, and the information is on the flyer that looks like this. That's in the back of the room. And in October, at the end of Hispanic Heritage Month, very, very excited for an event we've been working on that will be hosted on the event lawn at the Donald Duncan Library. This is with a best-selling author, Mexican-American who grew up in Southern California, Victor Villaseñor. Many of you may be familiar with some of his books. He was one of my favorite authors as a child. Many adults' favorite authors too. So this will be on Saturday, October 12th. He will do an author talk about pride and heritage and the power of perseverance. He has a very powerful story of growing up here in Southern California. That'll start at 10 a.m. We'll have some music, we'll have some crafts, some food, and of course hear his story. So I hope you'll join us then. And then throughout the month, at the Donald Duncan Library, there is a shelf where I have a special display of authors or of books by Hispanic authors. So a nice way that the library is celebrating Hispanic heritage as well.
Thank you, and thanks for helping to organize those fun activities that celebrate the diversity in our community. At this time, we will move to public comments. If you would like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda, please come to one of the 2 podiums, and we will get started.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Foley and council members. My name is Liz McNabb, and I am the district coordinator for Assemblywoman Petrie Norris, who has just finished up her first legislative session up in Sacramento. So I'm here to give an update on the bills that she has passed so far. And I've added a list to the prompter so that people can take a look. I'm not going to go over all of the 12 bills that she has passed this year. 2 have already been signed by Governor Gavin Newsom, and 10 more. He has 30 days until October 13th to sign the bills, and so I will be updating you more as those signatures come through. But there are 2 of particular interest to Costa Mesa that I think are very important to highlight, and that is Assembly Bill 919 and Assembly Bill 920, both which relate to sober living homes. Assembly Bill 919 would require that the Department of Healthcare Services establish an enforcement program to effectively prevent and stop body brokering schemes that prey on vulnerable patients seeking legitimate substance abuse treatment. And AB 920 will require that all outpatient substance use disorder treatment programs be licensed by the Department of Healthcare Services, because outpatient programs providing these treatments do not currently require any licensing in the state of California. Today, any of you here, if you wanted to open your own outpatient treatment facility, you could do so immediately with no licensing, training, or prior experience required. AB 920 fills a regulation gap in the substance abuse treatment industry and empowers patients with more information regarding the providers of substance abuse treatment. So I think this will help in our partnership with the city of Costa Mesa on tackling addressing the very important issue of sober living homes. And one other thing that I wanted to invite the public to is our next Coffee with Kari, which is being held on September 28th from 9 to 10:30 at the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center in Huntington Beach at 21,900 Pacific Coast Highway. So if you'd like the opportunity to meet the Assemblywoman in person, we'd love to have you join us at that. And until next meeting, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Hi, I'm here because I just wanted to bring to your attention, maybe specifically to Raja, that I don't know if it was an oversight or they're planning to get to this real soon, but over on Park in front of the library, the new library building, where the stop signs are, they have not painted the crosswalks on the ground, and I've seen people running the stop signs because there's no crosswalk there to define it. So I'd like to see that get taken care of right away before there's an accident.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Ma'am, next speaker.
Good evening, Council. My name is Hildegard Gonzalez, and I live on the west side. And it's good to see you, Mr. Mansour. It's been so long. I don't know if that's the proper thing to do before, to come before the council, because I do have some issues, but I bring them up the next time. The reason I'm coming, it's after I see all the news on TV of the disrespect and harassing of our law enforcement, I had a need to give my support for our Costa Mesa Police Department. They're the best. It dates all the way back to 1993, with the help of Captain Lazar, Lieutenant Kent, Gary with the gang enforcement, Bill Adams with the drugs, and also with the city council. At that time under Joe Erickson. And with their help, we got rid of the gangs. Last year, some people left on the alley behind my house. About 134 feet chunk. It must have took them all night. I mean, longer than this here. And the police department, when I called them to help me, and they were even nice enough to put it in bags and help them people and call the truck to pick it up. And then I had another occasion where somebody was sitting right in front of my house on the sidewalk, eating, drinking, putting a tarp up there to shield him from the sun. And I called the police. And you know, they really get subjected to a lot of verbal abuse. They gave them the word N, you know. It gets me really upset. So that's what I came here for. I just thought I expressed my feelings. I get very upset when I see that on TV. And I'm very grateful for the Costa Mesa Police Department. They're the best there is. That's all there is to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. How is everybody tonight?
Great.
Jeffrey Hall, Costa Mesa Project Independence. Just want to let everybody know that we had a fantastic walkathon this year. We made our goal, and I'd like to thank Katrina Foley and Arliss Reynolds for showing up, and also for a little gift. I got 7 PI T-shirts for all 7 council members.
Give them to Dane.
And I got something for Janet Hauser.
All right.
So if they could take it up to Janet Hauser's office for me, it'd be a big help.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our next walkathon is September 14th, 2020.
Thank you. We'll be there. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Flo Martin, Costa Mesa. I'm here to speak about the widening of Newport Boulevard project. I'm reading from the Costa Mesa General Plan, page C5, regarding this extension of the 55. Cut and cover tunnel would run below Newport Boulevard from 19th to Industrial Way. The cut and cover strategy offers the most benefits to Costa Mesa. On page C14 of the general plan, balanced approach to complete streets. The California Complete Streets Act places the planning, designing, and building of complete streets into a larger planning framework of the general plan. And I would like to continue, including pedestrians, bicyclists, the disabled like me, motorists, seniors like me, and users of public transportation. A little bit further down, Costa Mesa has already begun the work of reviewing the existing streets. A little further down on the same page, active transportation. Active transportation refers to non-motorized travel modes such as walking, biking, and skateboarding. The active transportation plan responds to direct comments from residents like me, who've been in this town since 1967. We want more active transportation and regional destinations. Also, in the active transportation plan, on page 62, Harbor Boulevard is one of the proposed Class 2 bicycle routes from Fairview Park to Newport Boulevard. And when we get to Newport Boulevard, what happens then? We stop because there ain't no more bike paths. Option A that was presented last night offers no bike lanes, removes sidewalks on the west side and the north side between 18th to Superior. Option B, the same, no bike lanes and no sidewalks on the north side of Newport. Option C, the same, no bike lanes, okay, and removes planters. All options still limit crosswalks. There are no four-pronged crosswalks between Harbor Boulevard and Superior. It is not a good plan, option A, B, and C, and I request that the city focus more on what pedestrians and cyclists and bus travelers want. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Council. Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident. This evening, I just want to touch base on a problem that has been growing, literally. Having spent part of the summer cleaning my shoes multiple times in multiple parks, one of the problems we have is apparently we have a lot of pet owners who really don't care about the rest of the public. They just let their dogs leave their droppings wherever they want to. And it would be nice that they would honor the parks, and especially where our kids play, and they'd honor those areas and keep them clean. But apparently they need to be reminded multiple times. Newport Beach has actually taken a step which I thought I would share with you. It is the Poop Fairy is on vacation. And it's something to gather their interest. It's no bigger than a typical campaign sign, and it's strategically placed around the parks in places that people have problems apparently cleaning up after their pet. Beyond that, we have been doing an excellent job trying to keep ahead of that, but it's very hard to do. I would also add that in the future, when we do penalties for violations of a variety of these different things, pets off of leashes, et cetera, that we don't give those folks a fine, that in fact we prefer that they give community service for fixing some of the problems they may have actually exacerbated. And when I say community service, it would always be on the weekend. It would be the most inconvenient time for them and the most convenient time for us. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm here for a couple of reasons. One of them is on Saturday, the residents of Westside Costa Mesa are going to participate in a coastal cleanup day. So if you have some time, come on over and help us clean up the Santa Ana River Marsh from 8 to 1 o'clock. And then the other one is to kind of commend you for taking a very proactive actions when it comes to trash and sustainability. Upcoming in October will be the Veg Fest, and I'm really excited because they are trying to be going zero waste. And it's, you know, trash is a dirty business, and I know there's a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of difficulty. And we know that the city of Costa Mesa is not, doesn't have any jurisdiction over the OC Fairgrounds, but you do have a certain sphere of influence that you can use to try to get them to promote zero waste, because we know we're all up to, trash up to our ears and we don't know what to do with it. But we can certainly work on minimizing the amount of stuff that goes to the landfills. So we're just asking for you guys to be more proactive, continue to be more proactive. You've done away with the styrofoam, and you're going to increase or provide a platform for organics to be gotten rid of. And I think that's the biggest problem at a lot of the events, is that organics don't have a way to be separated. So maybe, you guys can start using your influence to influence the Costa Mesa Sanitary Department and also CR&R and other waste services to help us out on that. And this is Laura McManus, and she's the executive director for the South Cal Veg Fest. I also have some coupons if anybody wants any coupons for the day.
Thank you.
Laura, you want to say something? No. Okay,
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Kim Hendricks. I'm a Costa Mesa resident, and I also love Fairview Park. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate that one of the speakers who lauded the police department, I too think it took a lot of courage for Chief Sharpnick to get up and say what he said in front of City Council. Sometimes it's not the most popular thing, but the truth is always the best. I would like to ask City Council if they have heard what's happening at Fairview Park. I walked up the steps the other day and I thought a child was crying. It's a scream from one of the drones. There was a Harbor Soaring Society agreement, and there was supposed to be a year-long survey. I would like to know the parameters of that survey, who's doing this survey, when are they doing this survey, because there are a lot of items and variables that need to be looked at. You just don't go out. There's no baseline. Are they going to have a time when there's no planes flying? It seems like this has been forgotten, and I don't want it to be forgotten. Also, another thing I want to bring up is that I have done a public records request a few times and been told the records don't exist. Give me another month or two, that's fine. But this is unusual. I want to know the wet and dry fairy shrimp survey. The wet season was from October 2018. Okay, the dry season all the way up to June, the latest 2019. There should be a report done. There's no report done. There's a contract for someone to do this. They're getting paid. I'd like to see that information. So I'd like to see those two things. I'd like to see what is the parameters, all the conditions, the baseline for the survey, who's doing the survey, because someone who's not an ornithologist needs to know certain things about what they're looking at. There are three things that birds do when development comes. They either leave, they avoid it, they try to adapt, or they exploit it. Crows, corvids are great at exploiting. Gnatcatchers, least Belverios, they don't adapt very well, they'll leave. This is really important to keep biodiversity in our community. And so I would like for you to follow up and get that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight I would like to do a brief update on the dog park. About 3.5 years ago, city staff took over the dog park from the original Costa Mesa Bark Park Foundation volunteers. At that time, grass coverage in the small dog park was about 70% and 35% in the large dog park. Due solely to staff mismanagement, both sections of the park are at all-time lows. Killing off the grass, killing off or butchering the shade trees, not a pretty picture. And if that's not bad enough, as part of the takeover, staff initiated carnival-type events in the small dog park. Prior to the city takeover, no foundation events were ever in any part of the dog park proper, except once. Backlash from the small dog contingent on the committee prevented any repeats. Under the present arrangement, there's no longer any such representation. Any hope for same appears to rest solely on my ability to someday get a seat on your dais. Here are some photos of the latest carnival 4 months ago. I believe a repeat event is scheduled for next month. I was not present to see how all that equipment got into or out of the park. Cannot imagine how that could have helped the little grass we have in there now. Considering that traditionally 90% of guests present at these events are non-residents, I have to wonder how much Costa Mesa tax money was expended in this gala for our neighbors. The primary purpose of this event is to help dog rescue groups get dogs placed into nice homes. I personally saw only 3 rescue groups with 5 little doggies in there. During the hour I was present, I saw not a single human being visit those 5 doggies. They were too busy having a grand old time, comparable to a New Year's Eve party, minus the alcohol. There was a man's voice over the loud public address system barking out commands for some type of event, possibly a dog race. I would have taken a photo, but for the fact that there was not a single dog in that event. It was like the Twilight Zone, really weird. By way of contrast, the city of Irvine has their rescue group event also twice a year, where they have over 30 groups with more than 500 animals on hand. More than 50% of those animals will be placed in homes as a result of their event. They draw 5,000 guests coming from all over the county, but they also charge $2 per head or $5 per family. A year ago, I placed a call to Irvine staff. I had some questions, like where is there parking for 5,000 people? I ultimately got through to a very well-informed staff member. At the end, I asked her if Irvine ever had any type of events in the dog park proper. After a very long pause, she responded, "Why would we ever want to do that?" I felt somewhat embarrassed just asking the question, and even more embarrassed at her response. I didn't know what to say. Again, for the benefit of Costa Mesa's dynamic duo, John Stevens and Justin Martin, the lady says, "Why would we ever want to do that?" Good night.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Cynthia McDonald. Last night I attended the meeting about the widening of Newport Boulevard. I want to thank staff and the consultant who presented the information to us. I know that these meetings aren't easy and you're often on the receiving end of comments by not so friendly attendees. But I did go into the meeting with some apprehension with what I'd see. I came out of the meeting very concerned and more than a little frustrated. I don't know if there was a communication disconnect, but something is definitely wrong. In April, when the contract with the consultant was approved, the City Council gave direction to that consultant that they would incorporate active transportation improvements into the scope, that attention be paid to parking improvements and accommodations for businesses, that complete streets and safe routes concepts be incorporated, and that the design would enhance the downtown revitalization for businesses. There was nothing of that in what was presented. The designs presented were completely car-oriented. What was most disturbing was the tactics used to deflect the public away from their concerns about the final results of the project. There was disregard for the pedestrian deaths in this area. The project was presented as a fait accompli, and we were told that the city's preferred alternative presented in the general plan was never going to happen in our lifetimes, so we should accept this impairment instead. As proposed, this project is nothing more than a very expensive Band-Aid. If the January meeting doesn't produce a better result, both in terms of work product and the attitude towards the needs of pedestrians, cyclists, and businesses, then I suggest you pull the plug on this project. So switching gears here, try to leave you with a smile. Walk to School Day is on Wednesday, October 2nd. The participating schools are being lined up right now, but I am inviting you to please join us in this really fun event. I know that we usually have College Park, Victoria, Kaiser, Woodland, and we're trying to get a school in the north part of town this year. So it should be something in everybody's district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this will be our final speaker.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I have a couple items that I'd like to address tonight. I have raised the issue about the parking shortage at the Historical Society. The parking shortage is mainly due to the construction, and many of our volunteers are required to park in the new parking lot in front of the building, and there is no sidewalk for them to walk on down the driveway to get to the entrance of the Historical Society. And that presents a danger because there are a lot of cars coming through there, and some of them, drivers don't pay attention. There's some construction vehicles in there. So to me, it represents a safety issue. And so I am very concerned that one of our volunteers is going to be injured. The other thing is there is such a lack of parking that there's just no room for people to park that even come to visit the Historical Society during the time that it's open. And so I think that you really need to do something to address this, at least until all the construction is completed and that parking area is going to be restored to its normal amount of parking. The other thing is you need, I think this was brought up at the last meeting, you need to open up the park to the public. It's been closed too long, and the airplane in the park has always been a big hit. Kids don't care how fancy it is or anything like that. They play out there in the dirt, get on the plane. And my concern also is that there was some comment made, I believe, at the last meeting that the airplane was not safe to play on. And I'm wondering why that is, because it was restored. I worked on, along with a group of veterans and residents, to restore it to its original configuration. And at that time it was safe, so I don't know what kind of damage has been done to it. It needs to be fixed, whatever it is, and it needs to be opened up and available for the children to play on it. Most people know that it's called Airplane Park, not Lions Park. The other thing is red light running and speeding has become epidemic. And you talk about active transportation. You can't have pedestrians and bicycles walking when you have people running red lights and blowing through four-way stops. Thank you.
So that was a nice, positive way to start the meeting, all that energy. So anyway, sorry to be a bummer, but in the last week, I went to the Newport Beach meeting down on the peninsula, and I was shocked what I found out. And last night I was at the Huntington Beach City Council meeting, and I was shocked what I found out. So guess, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, I hope everybody knows that Newport Beach wants to put their shelter right over here on West Side Costa Mesa. I hope everybody realizes where that's going to go. It's actually going to be in Costa Mesa, even though it says Newport Beach. So at least the Newport Beach Heights people are smart enough to realize what's going to happen to them. So they're fighting back, just to let you know. So down on the peninsula, somebody was asking the policeman, they have a special policeman just for the homeless, and this woman asked him, well, so where are you putting the people right now? Because apparently they've helped 16 people. So, and he said, oh, we're putting them in hotels. I want everyone in Costa Mesa to listen to me. And so I said, oh, what hotels? Knowing the prices of hotels in Newport Beach. Well, one place was out by Jamboree and MacArthur. They have one spot. And then he said, oh, and we're putting them in other cities. And so I said, oh, Costa Mesa? And he smiled. No. Newport Beach is not going to put their homeless people in our hotels. I'm sorry. I'm very compassionate about this. Every city needs to take care of their own. So imagine my shock last night at the Huntington Beach City Council to hear from the dais, because they're having a problem in Huntington Beach. I almost fainted. Well, I can't remember which one it was. He says, well, we're going to be putting our homeless in other cities. And so I'm like, Costa Mesa? No, that is not fair. Every city needs to step up to the plate and take responsibility just like Costa Mesa did. I'm over this. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, we will close the public comment, and at this time will be councilmember committee reports, comments, and suggestions. And as a reminder, if you would like to make a comment, please put your name in the queue. And we'll start with Councilmember Marr. Oh, nothing. Councilmember, oh, there she is.
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough on the jaw.
So it seems like it was 7 weeks ago, but it was less than 2 weeks ago that we had Art Venture here. It was a fantastic event, the best art venture yet. I think the city manager is going to give a brief presentation afterwards, but 136 artists showed at Art Venture, which is an all-time record for us, which was fantastic. So well done to city staff who helped organize that. Ashley Thomas in particular is really the driving force behind Art Venture. I want to say thank you to Councilmember Reynolds as she walks behind me for getting me on a for getting me on a bike for the first time in almost 6 months probably. And so I did the bike rides she's been organizing on Sunday. We started at T Winkle. It was really wonderful. I was grateful there weren't any hills because I was on my beach cruiser, but yeah, really, really wonderful time. So please keep an eye out on social media. She's been organizing those on a monthly basis, and I think next month is going to be north of the 405. I have heard concerns both just now and then kind of throughout the day about the Newport Boulevard widening project and the meeting that happened last night. Both Councilmember Reynolds, she may speak about this as well, and I have reached out to the city manager to get a little bit more clarification and come back with some next steps, hopefully, that better address residents' concerns. And with that, I think that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Guinness.
I have several things. Regarding the drone survey, I have some of the same concerns because we really have no baseline. So if they do a drone survey and say, well, there are no raptors to be bothered by it, well, maybe it's because the drones are there and that's why there are no raptors. Or if they have some raptors that seem to be okay, how do we know there aren't others? Or how do we know, how the breeding would vary or whatever? So it strikes me as a bizarre kind of a survey if you have no baseline without the drones. Regarding Lions Park, when we approved the library, there was a discussion about making land available for recreation at Lions Park. And a big part of that discussion was the ball fields and trying to find green space for the residents there during the construction, and that has obviously not come to pass. And it's really not fair to the residents in that area that they've gone that's a park poor area as it is, and it's not right that they've gone all that length of time without any kind of green space. And whether it's opening up the airplane section, opening up the ball fields, finding something else, we really, really do need to make some open space available for people to play on, even if it's just opening the ball fields over the weekend and closing them again at night. People want to play ball with their kids. They want to fly a kite. It's kind of, this is an underserved area of town as it is. I'd also like to thank staff for their communication, preparing a really good, thorough letter regarding the regional housing needs assessment to the SCAG on the methodology. They hit all the points that I would have thought of and more so. And SCAG will be having workshops on that. They're a little technical, but I would encourage members of the council to at least sit in on part of them. They will be, you can watch parts of them. You could watch a lot of it online if you don't want to drive to LA. This Monday, there's going to be a session, and I will send the link to the council members. I'll post it too, although it's a little esoteric, but it can have a significant, very significant influence on the shape of our city for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynolds.
Oops, okay, good. So I'll echo everything I've heard so far in the council comments. Wanted to say congrats on the zero waste efforts that we heard about. It's exciting to see some movement there. Thank you to the Walk for Independence folks. I think they're gone. That was a much bigger event than I expected, and I learned that many of the participants had been part of that organization for more than a decade, in some cases 2 decades. So I was really impressed and had a lot of fun. To the comments on the shelter, I want to assure you that we are watching the shelter discussions in our neighboring cities very, very closely. Spent quite a bit of time upstairs talking about that. Yesterday, had a fun day with Councilmember Marr and our Fairview Park administrator at a workshop on water resources in a program called the Santa Ana Watershed Ambassador Program, kind of an educational program on the water resources we have here and a lot of the efforts to ensure reliable supply, invest in green infrastructure. Came away very optimistic and excited about a number of funding resources that we got information on, both for green infrastructure projects, some of which I think are consistent with projects in our current CIP, but also for fellows and fully funded interns in any areas that are consistent with kind of the livable communities objectives. So we'll make sure that we get that information out and go after some of that money or those resources. Lions Park, echo the comments you've heard so far. It is time to give that community access to the parks that the community owns. Been talking about several different options, and I want to encourage us to go, just be as knowing the budget situation we're in, take the most cost-effective approach to reinstate public access to those parks as soon as possible. Had a good brainstorm session with that with our city manager. On the Newport Boulevard project, which I just want to note, one of the conditions that we put on that project is that we wouldn't call it a widening project because we wanted to acknowledge that a focus should be improvement of Newport Boulevard. So I'm not going to call it the widening project. The Newport Boulevard CIP project. Really want to thank all of the residents and businesses who showed up. It was a good turnout. Absolutely acknowledge the concerns we heard from the noticing, making sure that this project is going to benefit the city residents and the city businesses, and that we need to clarify the goals for the design on this project. And as Councilmember Marr said, felt like we wanted to just revisit that and make sure we're moving in the right direction. One of the startling statistics I heard from a resident who did some data analysis on crashes is that 30% of the fatalities in our city happen in the stretch that's being addressed by this project. So really addressing safety should be our highest priority there. Related to that, wanted to remind everyone about council goal number 6, which is about community engagement. I know we're working very hard. We can still improve the consistency and noticing for our public meetings, and I have some ideas on that I'll share, including kind of a minimum noticing period for email and social media on when we're posting events, to a certification in the public participation process, similar to certification or training in project management. I think that would be a good step towards that goal. Some exciting things. I met last week with the mayor of Garden Grove, who has spearheaded the only 3 open streets events in Orange County. He was very excited to hear that there was interest in that in Costa Mesa and shared a lot of his ideas. He shared that doing those open streets events did a lot to bring the community together in Garden Grove and actually spurred, he was sort of unexpected positive benefits, spurring a lot of economic growth and investment after those open streets events happened. So I'm excited. That was sort of one of the goals of my monthly bike rides that Councilmember Marr mentioned. The next bike ride will be October 20th, and we are exploring north of Costa Mesa.
Thank
Do I
you.
still have a?
I started.
Oh, you restart. Okay, thank you.
We're still talking. All right. Okay, next up is Councilmember Chavez.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to our meeting. I want to begin by just saying one quick fact about October 12th event, about Victor Villaseñor. He actually wrote my favorite book that I read when I was in high school called Reign of Gold. So definitely, if you can, come check it out. It'll be a fun event for all our children and ourselves to enjoy. And like I said, I'm surprised he's coming because he is one of my favorite authors. So thank you, Councilmember Reynolds. On that note, alongside Councilmember Reynolds, on last Wednesday, we attended an event at Save Our Youth called Back to Soy Night. So those that don't know, Save Our Youth is actually a gem here in my district in Costa Mesa that was founded back, I believe, in 1993 as a way to prevent gangs from forming in our community. Over time, it actually evolved from being just a place where youth in my district would go and work out and box and play pool to becoming a center of academic enrichment. It's actually through Save Our Youth that I received my scholarship to go to UC Irvine. And it's also where I first actually attended a college tour at the age of 15. So it's one of those gems we have that really empowers our community members And it was beautiful to see them grow and expand from their humble roots to what they are today. Alongside of that, I did attend Art Venture with my little sister. It was beautiful to see her experience the joy of art, and it's a gem as well for us to bring our children and for us to experience a bit of what we call City of the Arts. Alongside that, this past 2 weeks, alongside Councilmember Marr and Mayor Foley, we went along to Buena Park, visit the Carpenters Union Local 714. Those that don't know, they're the ones who helped out with the shelter process. And also, they also are a really big proponent of living wage for those who are in the construction industry. So they have a really cool program where they actually take in apprentices and they show them the trades and give them education consistently every quarter. And it's a great way for some of our residents in Costa Mesa who don't go to four-year universities to something like a great living wage in this day and age. And finally, I want to end with the story that I think I'm going to be sharing every council meeting about parking. This one's going to be regarding District 5, actually, with the Costa Mesa Mobile Home Estates behind Kmart on Wilson next to Ruckert Street. So I was there this past week talking to residents, asking them about their parking situation. And a lot of them are sharing me a pretty harrowing reality. So those that don't have parking in their estates have to go two options to find extra parking. Down the street to Ruckers Drive, which is the only street in the nearby half-block radius that doesn't have permit parking. So that street's entirely overrun by cars and people parking on driveways and in the lawns. Or they need to pay local businesses overnight to park there. I mentioned this last meeting, parking is a really big issue in West Costa Mesa, and if we really want to change people's lives, addressing parking will be a small step in the right direction. I do look forward to seeing our staff come up with the parking study, because like I said, this will genuinely impact people's lives for the better, and not only that, it will raise property values and overall bring happiness to our community. So that, guys, thank you for coming once again, and thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Well, speaking of bringing happiness to our community, it's Fish Fry Week. And so I think this is displayed up on the screen, as I hope it is. So the fish fry starts at 5 o'clock, and it's at Fairview Park, 5 o'clock on Friday. It goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday at 2 o'clock, there's a rib eating contest. It's the police officers against the firefighters. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And on the 30th of September, there's a golf tournament. It's the first annual golf tournament. It's very affordable. It's going to be at Costa Mesa Country Club. And Mesa Verde Partners in the city of Costa Mesa have donated the course for this event. So please come out for that. It's going to be a great time. Arliss Reynolds and I, Councilmember Reynolds, are working on a thing called the Costa Mesa Early Childhood Coalition. And our first event is on October 10th, and it's at the Adams Room of the library at 6 o'clock. And here's the event right here. It starts at 5:30. And we're screening a documentary called No Small Matter that focuses on the importance of early childhood education and development on our community. And there's going to be a brief panel afterwards. And there's also going to be food available for free. So if that doesn't get you, I don't know what will. Mayor Foley and I had the pleasure of touring the facility on Geisler of Newport Mesa Water. And I learned some things. I'll give you three fun facts about that. Number one is, do you know that we get 100% of our water through Mesa Water locally, as opposed to from the Owens River or someplace up north? Number two, do you know that there are 300 miles of pipes under Costa Mesa that are maintained by Mesa Water? Third fun fact, there's only 2.9% loss, which is a great statistic, of water from the time it's pumped in the ground until the time that gets to our meters. And that's a spectacular ratio. So it was a great event. Maybe Mayor Foley has some other fun facts, but I sure had a good time. Also on Saturday, I forgot to mention this, at the Goat Hill Junction, the model engineers are rolling out the first engine that they've rolled out, I think, in the last 15 years. That's at 9:15. And so come, please support them. That's right around the time of the fish fry, but it's in the morning. So you can go do that and go to the fish fry later. And finally, last two things. The Costa Mesa Chamber is having a golf tournament, their annual golf tournament. It's called the Warren Escher Classic, and it's on October 7th. And this one is at Santa Ana Country Club, which is a great place to go. So look at their website for that. And finally, the last thing is I have listened carefully to the Newport Boulevard Capital Improvement Project, but I wasn't able to go to that event. So if I could please get a briefing on that, I do want to make sure that we're on the right track with that project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens took 3 of the items I was going to speak on, so it saved me about a minute. I wanted to share also that we have so many fun activities for families in Costa Mesa. We also have September 28th, the Costa Makers Block Party to unite Costa Mesa around art, creativity, food, and entertainment. That's September 28th from 11 to 3, and it's free. It's hosted by the Triangle Square and First United. There's a lot of prizes and fun. You can park your car at Triangle Square and walk over. So I encourage you all to check that out. And they have a web or a Facebook page if you want more information about that. Also, I would like us, I know that OCTA wanted to have a presentation and give us a presentation. So I would like us to include or ask them to include in that presentation. I had previously talked to them about this, that cut and cover, because I remember voting on that. I think Councilmember Mansour and I are the only 2 that voted on that. It's been a while. So if we could ask them to include that. The last I spoke with OCTA representatives, they said that some council action taken later was to remove that. And it doesn't look like it's removed from our general plan. So I'd like to make sure that we stay on top of that and be maybe a little bit more aggressive, because that's a federally funded infrastructure project that we could maybe have some federal funds to pursue it with. And then thank you. I know you're not watching, but maybe you'll see a tape of this, to our new Assemblywoman, Connie Petrie-Norris, AB 919 and 920. And thank you to our city staff and our city attorney, and Connor Locke, our chief of staff, and his team, Hadassah. Thank you so much, Alberto Ruiz, for helping to help the Assemblywoman to learn all about everything there is to know about sober living in Costa Mesa, what we've been working on, and how she can help us in Sacramento to have a little bit more regulatory control over those issues. So thank you. As it relates to the shelter options for Newport Beach, yes, we are watching that very closely. I sent a letter to the city of Newport Beach expressing our objection, basically, to the locations that were selected, and we are engaged in conversations with Newport Beach, and we are definitely making sure that that doesn't become basically another Costa Mesa shelter right down the street. Congratulations, Art Venture team, Councilmember Marr, great job. It was the best art venture that I think I've been to, and it was a wonderful turnout, great way to showcase Costa Mesa and all of the art that we have in our community. And as it relates to the Newport Beach project, I know there's a couple more community meetings, but I would like to have a meeting with Council Members Marr and Reynolds, with the city manager, just to kind of get a scope and figure out where we're going with this, okay? And then as it relates to the Mesa Water, what I'll say is after the tour, what I learned was that they have these beautiful redwoods that they've planted there, and the roots for the redwoods are all connected, and they really just get their water to grow through like steam fog that they have. So you should go tour it. It's an interesting community asset that we have over there. Can I also, I've asked Mr. Locke to check in with Ms. Hendricks about the PRA request and to find out how we can respond to you and make sure that we get the answers to the questions that you need. And so he didn't know where you were, so he's gonna connect with you, okay? All right, and that's all I have for tonight. Oh, one more thing, John Wayne Airport. So I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting on behalf of the city and requested that they include in their request for proposals some restrictions and some community involvement in the process. And I don't think that neither the City of Newport Beach or our city nor many of the community groups that attended were very satisfied with the outcome of that meeting. So I would encourage the community to continue to send communications to your representatives on the Board of Supervisors to make sure that they know that whatever they end up doing with regard to improvements to the airport and the fixed-based operations, the hangars, that they not increase the general aviation, the flights that are coming out of there, the small jets, and that they look at ways that we can reduce the pollution that's coming off of those planes in our community. And that's all I have. So I'll move to the city manager. And we have a lot of reports tonight, so we're sorry that we're running a little bit late on getting the meeting going, but it's good information. Ms. Farrell Harrison?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Foley. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Today, I'd like to talk about my experience with our 5th art venture. It was my first time attending the event, and I have to say that it was just an amazing opportunity for me to really get to meet some of the artists in the community and to learn firsthand just how talented Costa Mesans are when it comes to art and their creativity. It was quite a success, I have to say. There were 3,500 attendees over the 2-day period. It was just an amazing and incredible opportunity to see different expressions of creativity, originality, and just wonderful art. There was live music, it was free, it was family friendly, and we even had the opportunity to vote for our own favorite pieces of art. And so I just wanted to state for the record what my favorite piece of art was. I did hand in my form at the end of the night, and it did not win, but it was a depiction of Serena Williams, and it was called Tennis Whites Redefined, and that was my favorite one, for whatever that's worth. And so we do have a short video for you on a lot of the different features of the event, including some of the winners. There was a youth category that was great. There was all kinds of different categories in terms of just artistic expression and different winners, and a great time had by everyone. And so I would strongly encourage participation next year. Please put it on your calendars for next year once we issue that. And so with that, I'll turn it over to staff to put on the video. But I did also want to just thank the mayor, of course, for being there, and Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Mar for the work that she's doing on the Cultural Arts Committee, in addition to Justin Martin, and then, of course, Ashley Thomas, who was instrumental in putting the event together. And so just a fantastic event.
Costa Mesa is a celebration of artists all throughout Costa Mesa and Orange County.
This event is really about bringing together the artists and the communities within Costa Mesa. As you know, we are known as the City of the Arts, so at the Cultural Arts Committee, we really want to put on a premier event that really highlights the City of the Arts. We have sculpture, we have oil painting, we have photography, we really have it all.
What I love is that we have artists of all ages, of all backgrounds, that some people are retired, some people are professional artists, and different mediums, and so it's a really great signature Costa Mesa event.
It's very important to support art in the community. It really brings people together. It shows what people are doing in the community. It's a celebration, really, of creativity and art.
owl because I like owls. I see myself just showing it to other people to like encourage them to be like me and submit their art, even if it's like not as good as you think it is. It's still art, and art is beautiful.
Costa Mesa Arts.
Art is near and dear to my heart. We are the City of the Arts, and this is the premier event in the city and our opportunity to showcase all of our amazing Costa Mesa and Orange County artists right here at Segerstrom Center.
Great job. Nicely done, Mr. Bora. Your team did a great job on that. Okay, we will move now to the report from the city attorney. Ms. Barlow?
Madam Mayor, I have no report for this evening. I was too busy breaking my foot at Pacific Amphitheater.
Oh. Okay, we now move to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless an item is pulled by a member of the city council staff or the public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for discussion. I will be abstaining on consent calendar item number 3, the warrant register payments to Everett Dory LLP and to West Coast Arborists, Inc., as I have received contributions over $250. Does the council request to have any items pulled? Ms. Green?
And then the public also requests numbers 3, 5, and 12.
Move the balance.
Second.
Okay,
call for the question.
Wait, just 1 minute, please. I need to read the title of
Thank
the
you.
ordinances. Item number 5, second reading adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa amended tabled.
I thought number 5 was pulled.
Yeah, number 5 was pulled.
Oh, okay, we can wait to do it. All right.
Okay, so.
But I need to read the title number 6 in, please.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 6, second reading and adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa, California, amending Chapter 1 of Title 1 of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code relating to the collection of unpaid fines and fees.
Okay, call for the, are you ready?
Yeah.
Call for the question.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we will move to item number 5 first. We'll do item number 3 last.
Item number 5. Item number 5 is a member of the public, and the title of that ordinance, Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa amending Table 13-30 of Chapter 4 and Article 18 of Chapter 9 of Title 13 of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code related to the location and operation of emergency shelters within the city.
Okay, council, if there's anyone who has any question, who's on staff for this one? Mr. Mart or Mr. Curtis?
We have nothing prepared this evening, Madam Mayor, and there was no discussion on the item when it came before the council at this last meeting. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. No requests in the queue. Open this item up for public comment. Whoever pulled this item.
So back to the Huntington Beach City Council last night. So Huntington Beach has done absolutely nothing. They've kind of tried and fiddled around to get a homeless shelter. So I'm just up here because I want to share that last night, Cotty Petrie-Norris and Katrina Foley, sorry, but you were mentioned over and over and over again that they said we should be following what Costa Mesa did. We should be looking at an industrial area. We should do whatever we can. That's the best place to put it. And I thought it was remarkable to sit there and hear a bunch of city council people from an entirely different city saying, well, they've done the right thing, and why aren't we doing it, and let's do it. And I just wanted to mention that. I think it's a perfect place. I know it costs a lot of money, but it's the least invasive, most protective for the residents of Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I attended the Newport Beach Council regarding their 3 decisions on the locations. And one of the things that they indicated is that there was a price point that they felt was too much to come on board with Costa Mesa. Now, the amount I heard was $57,000 a bed, plus an amount to offset the cost of whatever the building and operating costs are. And my suggestion is that if we can we're better off to have a partner that's going to pay something than a partner that is not going to pay anything, and have a shelter on the border of our city in some regards, whether it's on campus or whether it's on the 16th Street or whether it's on their city yards. So I'm hoping that there's still negotiations going on with the actual price point that you're asking of Newport Beach, because my feeling is that that would be a very easy way out for them, and that if they won't pay that, maybe we should reconsider what we're charging them, because something is certainly better than nothing. And this is going to get the best of us financially in 3 or 4 years, especially with the way our budget is situated. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll close public comment. Just for clarity for the public, that item is not on our agenda tonight. The item that we have before us is related to zoning for emergency shelters. But we hear what you're saying. Okay, Councilmember Marr.
I'll move to approve the item.
Mayor Pro Tem
Second.
Stevens.
Second.
Okay, I see no requests in the queue. Call for the question.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We will now move to item number 12.
Is release of bond in connection with tract map 17705 for lot corner monumentation at 2294 Pacific Avenue, Costa Mesa, California.
Okay, and who has this item? Mr. Sethuraman?
Madam Mayor, we don't have any presentation on this item. It's for release of bonds in the amount of $2,000 for monumentation, survey monuments for this project. So if there are any questions, we can answer that.
Okay. I see no requests in the queue. We'll open this item up for public comment.
I only want to speak on this because the developer that developed this property did not develop it properly, because there's nowhere for the water to run off the hardscape. So I don't think they should get their bond back. I think they should be, it should be mandated that they provide for adequate drainage for the houses there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. Mr. Sethuraman, I know that we have had that concern expressed previously, but this item is not related to the drainage, right? This is related to the monument signs, is that what you said?
Survey monumentation, that's right, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Survey monumentation.
Oh,
So
okay. So is that related to the drainage?
No, this is not.
Okay. Is Councilmember Marr?
I'll move to approve the item.
Councilmember Chavez?
Second.
Okay. And I have one comment in the queue. Councilmember Guinness.
I realize that this is limited to the monumentation. However, I am really concerned that we do seem to have some projects with inadequate drainage, which seem to be necessitating, or at least creating pressure, maybe not necessitating, because I believe there are alternatives, but creating pressure to put public works in Fairview Park that don't necessarily enhance the park itself. And I hope that we'll be careful with that. And the point about the drainage, during the drought, we had well, I suppose we're in a drought again, but we heard a lot about drought-tolerant landscaping, and we're trying to encourage that. However, some people see the alternative to be to cover everything with cement, and there's no place for water to infiltrate at all. And we need to be a little stricter at enforcing what rules we have, or possibly re-examining the rules that we have regarding landscaping and so forth, because we're increasing pressure on our drainage facilities even when we don't have any new development or anything. It's just adding more pavement to the existing or maybe redeveloping areas. And just want to make sure that we don't do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, call for the question. Councilmember Reynolds?
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, item number 13.
Thank you. Item number 13 is the license agreement between the City of Costa Mesa and the Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club to host the annual Fish Fry event at the Lions Park campus beginning in 2020.
Okay, Mr. Martin? Oh,
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here this evening to provide an overview of the license agreement between the City of Costa Mesa and the Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club to host the annual Fish Fry event at the Lions Park campus beginning in 2020. Staff are recommending the new license agreement be approved this evening by City Council and subsequently that the City Manager and City Clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and future amendments to the agreement. The annual Fish Fry has been a staple event for 72 years in Costa Mesa and is rich in tradition and community support. This community event brings thousands of visitors over the course of the 3-day weekend and is of great value in that the primary purpose of the event is to fundraise to provide grants for local schools, clubs, and organizations. The event was historically held at Lions Park, but the event has taken place at Fairview Park since 2012. In recent years, careful consideration and measures have been taken to address compliance with state and federal regulatory agencies, including the moving of the event from its traditional weekend after Memorial Day to mid-September to address concerns as they pertain to the bird nesting season. As the new Lions Park campus area is slated to open in mid-2020, the license agreement highlights the relocation of the Fish Fry back to its original home at Lions Park, effective in 2020, with city support to ensure that the transition is successful. Additionally, the license agreement highlights that the date of the event is contingent upon completion of the Lions Park projects and will be held either the weekend following Memorial Day or in September. The relocation of this event further addresses the city's continued desire to remain compliant and address sensitivities and protections to the natural habitat of Fairview Park. Additionally, the event allows the city to continue to provide community value by creating an event that attracts thousands of attendees each year and reactivates the Lions Park campus, which is one of the City Council's goals in improving our neighborhoods and quality of life. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the council.
thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Okay, there are no requests in the queue. If you would like to ask a question, please put your name in the queue. Councilmember Guinness.
I have a couple of questions. One of which has to do with the activities that are allowed. And they have the activities, including but not limited to dance, stage 4 carnival rides, and so forth. I want to make sure that that wording does not exclude sale of food, because that's always been a big part of the Fish Fry.
No, that's not the intent, to exclude sale of food.
No, it's included, it's food vendors.
Oh, okay. Well, and also the Lions Club themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, I really like that the event will be back at Lions Park, its traditional venue. And out of Fairview, where we had potential damage to resources. And also, when I think of how much we spent on the 60th anniversary compared to what the Lions Club does, the incidental expenses related to waiving special events fees and so forth seem pretty reasonable. But one thing that's not covered in the staff report at all, nor in the presentation, was on page 3, or in the public notice either. Allow licensee to hold an annual golf tournament at one of the 2 public golf courses at the Costa Mesa Country Club as a fundraiser to benefit the Fish Fry, although the Fish Fry itself is a fundraiser, so I'm not quite sure how much sense that makes. So I'd appreciate some explanation on that. And the city will waive green fees and other related fees for such tournament. I have several questions related to that. Number one is why is it a fundraiser for the Fish Fry? Because the Fish Fry itself is a fundraiser. That's, in fact, the primary fundraiser event that the Lions Club has. And then has this been, because we don't charge the green fees. Well, one at a time. How about we do one at a time?
So the golf course is an additional fundraiser for the Lions Club, not necessarily for the Fish Fry.
Yeah. Okay. And then we ourselves do not collect the fees. It's Mesa Verde Partners. So can we even waive the fees on behalf of Mesa Verde Partners? Is that what we're proposing to do? And that seems a little weird.
We are in the process of speaking with the golf course operator right now to see how we can make that arrangement.
So potentially the city would reimburse Mesa Verde Partner for the fees?
No, Councilmember Gaines, we're asking that the golf course operator waive the fees. The city has allocated so many rounds of golf as part of the agreement. We want to include that as part of a fee waiver so that the funds can be raised for the school groups and the nonprofits as an additional arm of the Lions Club.
And that would be part of our rounds that are free anyway?
Potentially, yes.
Because if not, we have the fiscal review, which is not to exceed $5,000, and it says in-house staff, personnel time, and sponsorship contribution. Conceivably, how much would the rounds of golf be worth? Because it seems like they would far exceed the $5,000 then.
Councilmember Giddens, they would not. They would be no more, not to exceed the 5,000.
So that the golf rounds would be included in the 5,000?
Correct.
And so what do we charge for, or what does Mesa Verde Partners charge for a round of golf these days?
It depends on the date and time.
Assuming this is on a weekend? Oh, it's not a weekend. We'll say a weekday.
Roughly $28 a round.
Seriously? It's got to be more than that.
Well, it's 50. I think it's 57 with a card on the weekend. So I'm not sure what it is on a weekday. It's less than that. So something in the
Councilmember Gaines, I'm not sure of the price off the top of my head, but I do know that the weekday prices are less than the weekend prices, as well as the prices are less without a golf cart.
Okay. Because I'm thinking 5,000 if you consider staff time helping with setup, all the police, special events policing, because there's going to be a need pretty much for traffic control around Lions Park, as well as people to patrol the event. Kids, there's always some batch of kids who decides to do something. I mean, when I was in high school, there were batches of kids who wanted to do stuff at the Lions, at the fish fry. You know, people thought it was brilliant. I mean, high school kids think it's brilliant. So it would seem like the $5,000 would pretty much reflect just the fish fry itself. And so I'm wondering about the golf tournament, but I'm also wondering, and this is a question for legal, the agenda item says license agreement between the City of Costa Mesa and the Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club to host the annual Fish Fry event at the Lions Park campus beginning in 2020. That is the agenda item. The recommendation is approve the agreement to host the Fish Fry at Lions Park campus. The entire staff report references only Lions Park campus, and then there's some discussion about Fairview Park and some of the issues that arose regarding Fairview Park. There is absolutely nothing. In fact, I didn't catch the golf course thing the first time I read through this with the agreement, and then I wanted to double check something else in the agreement, and then it was like, oh, what do you know? So is there adequate notice? It doesn't seem like there was anything on the agenda that would lead anyone to know anything about this. It doesn't seem like there's anything in the staff report that would lead anyone to know anything about the golf course and waiver of fees. And basically, unless you read the appendix to the staff report, you wouldn't know. So I have some concerns about adequate noticing and adequate public disclosure regarding this item.
Ms. Barlow, I mean, the appendix is actually the contract, just so the public is clear. Ms. Barlow?
Yeah, the contract does include this provision. It does appear to be a minor and sort of minimal part of the agreement. It's certainly up to the council, but I'm satisfied that we've provided adequate notice. If the council would like to postpone the item or remove that provision for some addendum or amendment, we could do that. But I don't think we need to.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Reynolds?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification because the Councilmember Guinness, I think, had a different understanding than I did, or I had a different understanding than she did, on the kind of total benefit wrapped up in this agreement. I had read this as the city would be providing staff support. I think police resources was in there, waiving fees. And this would include like a cash sponsorship not to exceed $5,000. But I'm hearing, I heard in that discussion that sort of the total package would not exceed $5,000. Can you clarify that?
That was incorrect.
Yeah,
Mr. Martin.
the intent of the sponsorship is to have a sponsorship not to exceed $5,000. The Lions Club has a tiering of sponsorships, which could be anywhere between $500 and $3,000, I believe, is their current. That was the intent of that sponsorship portion.
Okay, and the agreement here is, I forget what level, sir, a 3-day event sponsor. What's the cash sponsorship level on that?
It's to be determined. It is that number that I just mentioned that I believe the tiers now are between $500 and $3,000. This is a 10-year agreement. Their tiers may change. There is potential for future BIA money to be used towards this as well, so that it's not...
future, BIA, okay,
BIA.
thank you.
Some monies go towards some larger community events that might be a draw to the city, so this might be a category in the future that we might consider for that. Yes.
So the official 3-day event sponsor, it's all in capitals, so I assume that that was a tier level. What is the dollar associated with that? You know, it's anywhere.
At current, there's no dollar exact amount located or allocated towards that.
Okay. So to make sure I understand this, so there's waiving fees, staff support to help plan and manage the event, police resources for, I guess probably security and traffic circulation, promotion support, for use of the golf facility, plus between I already forgot the numbers, $300 and $3,000 for 10 years?
The term of the agreement is a 10-year initial term, yes.
Okay. So then I have a follow-up question. Do we have a policy on sponsoring events? I had asked this earlier in the year about, I forget, some other event, and I was told that we weren't sponsoring events anymore. What is our policy on that?
I do not believe that the city has an official sponsorship policy. I don't recall the item you're talking about with no longer sponsoring.
Mm-hmm.
We sponsor the Costa Mesa Foundation, obviously, for the concerts in the park
Through
series.
the foundation, yeah, it's a different avenue.
Correct, but I don't believe that we've not committed to sponsoring any events as a city.
Okay, but no formal policy. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that, so I think under our agreement with Mesa Verde Partners, there's a sharing of the proceeds of green fees, right?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, that's correct. The city receives 35% proceeds each month from Mesa Verde Partners as part of our annual revenue, which is somewhere around $2.2 to $2.4 million annually.
Per year, right. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember McGinnis, did you have something else?
Yes, I'm looking at the fiscal review, and we have our personnel time and sponsorship, but there's no numbers. So we're looking at up to $5,000 in a direct cash contribution per year, plus staff time that's worth something, plus golf fee membership or golf fees that are worth something. Do we have an estimate of what this is? Because it looks like all told, it'll be about $50K for the 10-year period just for the direct cash contribution, plus probably at least another $50K, possibly more.
In regards to the golf fees, there is no current projection for that. We've not held a golf tournament before for the Lions Club at the Country Club. From a staffing perspective, the Parks and Community Services Department has built this into their budget over the last 4 years to staff this event. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but we've specifically provided extensive event coverage and management because it was at Fairview Park. It was very important to make sure that we had eyes and ears there. As the event transitions back to Lions Park, we also, as Ms. Aguilar mentioned, want to make sure that we have eyes and ears to make sure that it's a successful return, because we want it to be successful, because there is a community benefit to the event. So that number has been built into our budget from a staffing perspective.
Whether or not it's built into our budget, I really would like to know what that costs, as well as the special event policing. For example, how many hours, how many people do we have on duty for how many hours over the course of the event? Because I love the fish fry. I want to see it go on. I've been going since I was a little kid, had to be on my dad's shoulders to see the fish fry parade. It's an important part of Costa Mesa, and as I said, it's a bargain compared to what we spent on the 60th anniversary party. And I think a more fun event, at least as fun. But on the golf tournament part, actually overall, I find the fiscal review here a little wanting, well, more than a little wanting, because we don't know how much it's going to cost us in staff time, whether for your shop or for police or whomever. But we do know there's going to be significant special events policing as well. Hopefully make some use of explorers for some of the traffic stuff. And then we're looking at golf fees, and we don't know what it's going to cost us. And that seems, especially when we're having to be very careful of our budget, we really do need to know. And so I don't know if you could put together some quick and dirty numbers while we listen to the public or not, but I have some real concerns about, I at least want to know what we're paying. Maybe I'll think it's fine sometime. Maybe I'll think, holy moly, let's rethink this. But I think we ought to know.
Councilmember Guinness, did you have a chance to get that question to staff in advance of the meeting so that they could come prepared?
Well, I read this as being not to exceed $5,000 a year total.
Okay.
So,
all right. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, and then I have some questions if I could have the floor. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, I just did some quick and dirty numbers. Follow along, see if it sounds about right. So this assumes 144 golfers, which is, I think, pretty much the maximum you can have in a golf tournament. The green fees at Los Lagos are, for a weekday, are $33. The green fees at Mesa Linda are $26. If you multiply those two numbers and you take 35% of that, which is our share, our cut, then you get to $1,663 if the golf tournament is held at Los Lagos, and $1,310 if the golf tournament is held at Mesa Verde. Does that sound about right?
It's in the ballpark.
Thank you.
Okay.
Not to mix metaphors, right? All right, got it.
Okay, so Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, I have the floor. Mr. Martin, if you could explain to us, over the last 4 years, has the city staff been supporting the fish fry at Fairview Park?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
And approximately how many people out of the city general employees department have been supporting the fish fry every year for the last 4 years, approximately?
We take it in a shift perspective, and it's anywhere between 2 to 5 people per shift.
So how many shifts in a day?
2 shifts on Friday, 1 for the setup, 1 for the event, 3 shifts on Saturday, 3 shifts on Sunday.
Okay, so about 15 people? Okay. And then...
some of those being part-timers as well.
Okay, and that wouldn't change, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then as far as the police department is concerned, in the last 4 years, has the police department been supporting the Lions Club's fish fry at Fairview Park?
Yes, the police generally send some folks from the community policing unit, bike patrol, and park rangers throughout the park.
Okay, and you don't anticipate that either the general employees or the police department employees and the number of people needed to support the fish fry once it moves to Lions Park to increase, right?
That's correct.
If anything, you expect it to decrease, correct?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, that's the goal, right? Okay, and so, and those activities and support, that's already incorporated into our current budget, right?
That's correct.
So I was in a meeting with Mr. Lane at Mesa Verde Partners with the golf course, golf committee, and my understanding is that Mr. Lane is supportive of supporting the Lions Club for the golf tournament. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And as you heard from Mr. Stevens, it's a nominal amount. Is that right? Okay. I'll close public comment, close this part of the meeting and open up for public comment. If you would like to speak to this item, please come to one of the two podiums.
Good evening. My name is Christina Carver. I am a certified law student with the Environmental Law Clinic at UC Irvine. I am here to speak on behalf of our client, the Fairview Park Alliance. The Alliance supports the staff's recommendation and urges the council to approve the license agreement between the city and the Lions Club, which will move the club's annual fish fry event from Fairview Park back to Lions Park, beginning next year. The Alliance advocates for the protection of Fairview Park's unique ecology and resident endangered species, and for the management of Fairview Park as a passive impact park. As a step towards these goals, the Alliance strongly supports the staff's recommendation for approval of the license agreement as outlined in the City Council Agenda Report. The Alliance agrees with the report's conclusion that the fish fry's relocation will help protect the park's resources and is pleased that the report highlights the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's recommendation that the fish fry be relocated. For these reasons, the Alliance urges the City Council to adopt the staff's recommendation to approve the license agreement and return the annual fish fry to Lions Park. I would also like to take a moment to address this year's fish fry, which of course begins on Friday at Fairview Park. From conversations with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, we understand that the city has agreed to provide oversight and protection of vulnerable park resources during the event. The Alliance would like to thank the city for agreeing to provide this oversight and for ensuring that the oversight is comprehensive and effective. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Okay, I'm just going to go through it. What caught my eye when I was reading this?
I'll pause your time, but just be really careful because the mics are a little sensitive, not to touch it on the lower part.
Not
okay?
like me, right? So, as I was going through this, first of all, it says in here, the catalyst to return the event to Lions Park is based on both on carrying on tradition and the efforts to become increasingly responsible. Well, we know why that happened, because of the state and feds that they wanted the city to protect the resources. And things just kept happening that was degrading the resources. I'm glad this is happening. I'm sad that it took 7 years for this to happen. So another thing is the city claims that it dedicated resources in the form of an on-site biological service prior to the event. And this process has allowed the city to mitigate encroachment on the sensitive areas of the park at Fairview. That's not true. You cannot mitigate damage that happened. The car that drove in Fairview Park and did burnouts and the people that dumped oil in there. So a couple of things I'd like to add. I know it's not going to be popular, but I believe parks are a family venue, and I believe alcohol impairs people's judgment and should not be a part of a family event. I don't recall them selling alcohol in Lions Park at the previous fish fries. I believe that the Lions Club deserves equal treatment, fair treatment. This kind of seems to me, this is like akin to what Disneyland is doing to the city of Anaheim by not paying their taxes. You know, they're getting a free pass, no fees proposed. They get city staff resources. They are waiving costs of the police department services, and there will be a higher demand because of the proximity of residents to the park. Also, I don't know why this golf tournament is included in this agenda item. And 10 years is way too long for a contract. Did you have contracts before this time with the Lions Club to have fish fries in Lions Park?
Thank you. Okay, if there's anyone else, please come to the podiums. Don't wait for the speaker to leave.
Thank you. I'm Phil Marsh, president of the Lions Club. And first of all, we had 7 years of Fairview Park. We enjoyed our stay there. It seems like everybody in the world wanted us to go back to Lions Park. Lions Park has been fixed up. It's a great place. I want to remind everybody it's called Lions Park because the Lions Club built it. First park in Costa Mesa. Okay, we're fine going back. Okay, we don't mind leaving it all. We're happy to stop all the issues of us being there, although I don't think we were as bad as we were made out to be. And I think we put every kind of effort we could into keeping Fairview Park clean, and we stayed only in the development area. We didn't go outside of it. Okay, but that's it. This is our last tour. We will do a very good job up there this year so that we leave it clean and pristine and follow the rules of the Parks Department, who I guarantee you will be on me the whole weekend. So there's no letting up on that one. I know it's going to happen. I accept it. Moving back to Lions Park, it should work out. I've probably walked it a million times, you know, figuring how we can do this and this, and I'm sure we can make a good event. The object is obviously to keep this thing going and actually make it grow again, get it back to where it was 30 years ago. Okay, so that's where we're at. As far as the golf tournament, we're hoping eventually to get our Fish Fry Days back to July or June, the original Fish Fry Days. I know it can't happen this year because the park's not done. So we'll have our tournament in September, same time, and then move on with the fish fry back on the original date. And keep in mind, and this is what I think everybody needs to know, every dollar that we make on this goes right back into our city. It doesn't go into other cities, it goes into ours. Councilman Chavez talked about soy, one of our big contributors right there. So the more we make on this, whether it's the fish fry, whether it's the golf tournament, it's going to go back to the city, and it's going to help where the city needs it. So with that, and another thing on the golf course and the amount of people, if somebody wants to put a limit and say that, well, we can only have so many golfers in a tournament, we can live with that. You know, we'll do whatever it takes to help if anybody's concerned about the expense. So I'm all for that, you know. So anyhow, that's my pitch. That's my pitch, and I hope everybody realizes this is a good event. It's a long-time event, and we hope to get it back to Lions, and we're all happy people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this will be our last speaker.
Let me go in front of him. So Andy M, there's no place like home. I'm so happy that they're going to go back where they started. This is their home. It's Lions Park. And then a lot of other people will be happy in the city too. And I'm happy it's going back to June because it's like a kickoff for the summer. But I'm sorry, I should have my Be Kind t-shirt on because I don't feel kind right now. Sandy Guinness, where were you when they were planning that anniversary party? I don't remember anybody scrutinizing anything like the stuff you're bringing up right now about some fantastic people that I cannot believe how hard they work. I've been watching what they've been doing. You have no idea how hard it is to do what they pull off, 3,000 fish fry dinners. I mean, it's amazing what they do. And what I love is they're not Scott Baugh. They're not making money off of this event. Every single penny is going right back into the city. So I can't even believe that these are the most honorable. This is Costa Mesa. This is what you want in Costa Mesa. So I am appalled that there's any scrutiny on this at all. So good luck and have a great fish fry.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. Okay, and I will move to approve the license agreement between the City of Costa Mesa and the Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club to host the annual Fish Fry event at the Lions Park campus beginning in 2020, and authorize the city manager and the city clerk to execute the agreement and future amendments to the agreement. Second by Councilmember Reynolds. I'm going to speak to the motion, and I'll ask Councilmember Reynolds to speak as well. Thank you. You know, we have been being begged to move the fish fry away from Fairview Park back to its home at Lions Park. And I appreciate, Mr. Marsh, all the meetings that we've had. I promised Ms. Hendricks that I would get this moved, and I did. And so I am really happy to support this. The 10-year agreement is necessary because this group of community volunteers, let's just be clear, this is not like Disneyland. They're not making any profit on this. They are community volunteers, and they spend hundreds of hours to put on a community event, and they've been getting moved around. And it's not fair for them to have that kind of instability. And so that's why the agreement is 10 years, so that they can predict what's going to happen every year, so that they can plan, because they're just a group of volunteers doing some good for the community. The reason to have the golf tournament, and that was sort of an idea because the transitional costs, it costs money to move this kind of a big event from one venue to another, to promote it in a different way, to make sure people know. It's a transitional cost that they will get offset just a little bit by having the golf tournament during that interim time period. The September time period, that time period was, they are making less money, by the way, for the community in September, because September is, you know, there's a lot of conflicting activities that go on in September over this next weekend. There's sporting events and school activities and all kinds of other events. I mean, we heard this weekend about a cleanup. You know, there's all kinds of events that are a lot more conflicting with the fish fry than in the last weekend of June, which is traditionally when they have their fish fry. I can't wait till it gets moved back to June. I can't wait till it's back at home at Lions Park where it was founded. And I personally can't wait until we also get the parade back. So I'm happy to have helped to get this contract on the council agenda, and I hope we have support. Councilmember Reynolds.
Thank you. So I love the fish fry. I think so many people here love the fish fry. I think of this as one of the most Costa Mesa's historical events. I think this is the 73rd year, if I saw that right. This homecoming of the fish fry to Lions Park is a really important part of the restoration of the West Side neighborhoods, the neighborhood that I grew up in. And I think similar to the airplane that we talked about a little bit earlier, the fish fry is so many of our favorite memory growing up. So bringing that back to the West Side, the homecoming to Lions Park is very, very exciting. And I thank you for all of the work that you're doing on that. I would love to see the parade come back. It might be a little stretch next year, but I know there's a lot of eagerness in that and a lot of excitement in that. I know we have a very active arts and culture committee that may be interested in working on that as well. I do want to say, though, I think it's a reasonable request that Councilmember Guinness makes to want to have kind of a more complete financial analysis. I'm comfortable with going forward here, but just kind of setting that expectation going forward, because we do have to scrutinize every dollar that we're committing. When I read the report, I did read it as incremental costs above the kind of what we've been doing now. So making sure that's more clear in the future would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, I support the motion. I think it's great. Just wanted to talk, it's great that you're going back. I can't wait till you get back to the June date. There was a huge drop-off in the revenue earned by this event last year when it went to September. That's just money that we don't have in our community. I just did some rough numbers. I've run golf tournaments. I attend way too many golf tournaments, and I happen to know the economies of it. And I think based on this tournament, based on a full golf tournament, it should gross about $35,000. So $35,000 is a lot of money that can be driven back in the community. And I was listening to Tom Johnson and Lynn Selich's show, and Phil was on the show, and Jim Ferryman and Ryan Ferryman, and they were talking about the golf tournament and the fish fry. And one of the analogies they used was they said the Lions Club and what they raise here is like a community bank. And the example that they gave is if there's somebody who wants to do something extraordinary, if they want to take a youth person that wants to take a trip, then they can apply to a scholarship of sorts to like a grant to the Lions Club, and they'll provide that. There's nothing that I'm aware of quite like that in the city. It's a unique opportunity, and it's a unique fundraiser. It's been going on for 72 years, and we need to do what we can to not only keep it going, but make it better for the better part of our community.
Thank you. Councilmember Mansour.
Thank you. Excuse me. I will be supporting the motion. I just want to say I do thank Councilmember Guinness for scrutinizing and for asking questions. It doesn't sound like it's a significant impact based on the calculations we've heard tonight, but I'm grateful. She's raising some good questions, and it's something to think about and keeps all of us on our toes. So thank you for scrutinizing and bringing it to our attention. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
This is a good agreement, and I'm glad to see the fish fry come home. So I shared before, when I was younger, I had a weekly routine with my mom, which was every Saturday we would walk by Fire Station 3. I'd wave hello. I'd go to the Dungle Darn Library, get a few books, and go play at Lions Park. And it was one of those things where it was always a beautiful joy in my eyes when there was a fair there once a year. Some of my best memories come from the fish fry. It is a quintessential Costa Mesa thing, and so long as my math serves me right, it is older than the city itself. This is truly one of those gems we have in West Costa Mesa. It's a gem for our community. I'm really happy to see stability for the Lions Club. I know it's been a rough 7 years overall, being in a different location. I also want to, just mention the fact that we are moving away from Fairview Park. We are taking into account all the environmental issues were brought up. We're doing our best to make sure we conserve that gem in our community as well. And I think overall this is a good agreement. I'm proud to support it, and I'm very happy to see it come home next year.
Thank you. Councilmember Guinness.
Before I make my comments, I do have one question. Did we waive police fees for the Lions Club and special events fees for the fish fry in the past?
Mr. Martin.
I'm not sure this year. I haven't worked on it this year, but in the past we have. The police fees, they've not been charged a police fee because I don't believe that we're bringing in special police officers to stay around the clock. And I did want to mention that at Lions Park, we do have 24-hour security patrol currently, which will be in place as well. So that won't be a trigger for police officers to need to work on extra shifts for that as well.
Well, first, I was kind of taken aback by the basic, we're going to do the fish fry at Lions Park, and I'm delighted about that. And as I say, compared to the 60th, even if it's 2-3 times the 5,000, that's still a bargain because it is a good community celebration. The one thing I would note is I'm really appreciative that this is coming to us, not just for the 10-year, but sometimes these events seem to take on a life of their own. And I don't know how they got approved. Like the 60th, it was some councils sometime voted to put a bunch of money in a bucket for this, for that event, and then it ran way over, and there were nothing, it was like things happened. There was very little oversight. We didn't get any reports. I it was well underway when I got on the council, and then we really didn't get any reports on it. Except for like when one of the members of the committees, I might run into them and say, what's going on over there? And they go, they're not even telling us. So it was kind of not something that we would want to repeat. But I think we do need to scrutinize this better. I am disappointed that there was basically the golf tournament thing just sort of thrown in as an afterthought. There's no discussion in the staff report, nothing in the public notice, and I don't think that's fair to the public even. But I do think this is a good thing to do. I will support the motion. However, I also have some concern about when we sponsor events, because what happens is we take the money, we give it to another organization who then gives it to somebody else. And it seems like, number one, every time you transfer money from one body to another, sometimes you could use it and they will invest it and they will grow it, say they have an event or something. But more often than not, somewhere along the lines, a little bit gets lost in administration and whatnot, or maybe the third party gives it to somebody that wouldn't have been the city's first choice. So I'm a little leery of that as a common practice. I do know that the Lions Club has traditionally given to like the Boys Club and groups that we would have given to anyway, probably. So I don't have a problem with that. But I also know that for the last few years, the Lions Club has been giving pretty much everything they make to charity. And then some, depleting what little reserves they have. And so I know nobody's getting rich off of this thing. And if anybody thinks anybody in the Lions Club is getting rich off of this thing, you're sadly mistaken. So it's a good community thing. It's a good event for the community, and it's good for the community groups. But as a matter of practice, when we sponsor things, we're just pretty much doing an asset transfer. And maybe we need to re-examine that practice and make the transfers directly ourselves to whoever the third party is in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to clarify for the record for the viewing audience that no one on this city council was on the city council at the time of the 60th anniversary. So not one person. So we don't have any role in that. I just want to make sure there's no confusion there. Also, no, but not when they approved it. Wait, please. And also, the $5,000 that we're contributing in a sponsorship is likely to go towards costs to put on the event. It's not going to be passed through to some other, group that's being supported. They pay for the carnival rides, which are $30,000, $40,000. They pay for the fish. I'm sure that costs at least $5,000. So there's lots of costs. The insurance. There's plenty of costs that a small donation of $5,000 from the city contributing to the cost of that community event is going to pay for. So I'm not worried about any pass-through issue. But I agree. I appreciate staff and working on this, and I agree with Councilmember Reynolds. I think it's so wonderful that the Lions Club Fish Fry is coming home. So we'll see you in September for the last fish fry at Fairview Park, and thank you to the advocates for Fairview Park that are here tonight. Nice to see you all in our audience, and I know that we all support and love Fairview Park and want to make sure that it continues to be the jewel of our city. We also love and support the Lions Club and want to make sure that this big community, fun, happy event continues in our community, and then it's a win-win for everyone. So on that, call for the question.
Motion carries 7-0.
Yay. Okay, we're going to take a brief break. Oh, wait, before we do that, we'll just vote on item number 3. Can I just walk around the corner? Okay, thanks.
Item number 3 is the warrant register, and we
Move the item.
wait. No.
John.
Okay, it's the warrants. Is there any public comment? Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So of course, I'm going to talk about all the legal fees. But what I'm going to talk about is what happened at the Planning Commission, or what happened last Friday. Should I start again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Reset the time.
So go to page, whatever it is.
We do the timer, right?
Page 1, all the sober living, the usual, all the ones that belong to Orange County Sober Living Network, here they all are. So here's a good one, Hotel California by the Sea, which was formerly Sober Living by the Sea, but I don't know if you read the paper, now it's called Sierra by the Sea, because sober living's getting a bad name. So a lot of these businesses are turning into mental health facilities, which brings me to what happened last week, where I don't know how this happened, but Windward Way, which is one that was suing our town, has contracted with the Orange County Mental Health Department to put their facilities right next to the lab in the camp, right out here in Bristol. Now, I think it's very peculiar that no one knew anything about it. I don't get it, and I don't like it. There's residences backing up to this. Byron D'Arco had to recuse himself because his house is behind it. He didn't know anything about it. I'm calling foul. I'm calling foul on whoever at the county level decided to cram this into our community without anybody knowing about it. Who and why? How did this happen? Nobody knew. The people that just bought the building right next door, oh, wait till Shaheen hears about this. They didn't know about it. They weren't notified. No one was notified. Can someone on the city, you're all looking away, no one's listening to me. Can someone please explain? Because what's going to happen is all the parolees are going to come there to pick up their drugs, get drug tested.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, the comments aren't related to the warrant register.
I know they're not.
It
but,
is
but
related.
Just
It's
finish
Windward
your
Way
finish
that's
your
suing our city.
finish your comments.
Okay, Windward Way is suing our city. It's one of the problems. Thank God you guys have been fighting back. I'm sorry it's a lot of money. This week it's $108,000. It's almost all legal fees with sober living problems. Why would you welcome in another problem? This is going to be a problem and nobody knows anything about it. Could you please explain that? Thank you.
All right, can we get a motion? Oh, sorry, close public comment. Motion by Reynolds. What's your motion to approve?
Move the item.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, call for the question.
Okay, sorry. Hold on just one second. Oh, it's not working. Okay, well, the motion carries 601 with Mayor Foley abstaining.
Yep, let's take a break. Oh.
Just want to clarify, because I don't want to leave it hanging out there. Ms. Barlow, the item that she's referring to is on the Planning Commission agenda. The Planning Commission vote was to deny the recommendation. And so, just so the public knows that. Okay, we'll take a break. Moving on to item, we have no old business tonight. We'll move on to new business, item number 1.
Thank you. Approval of a cooperative agreement between the County of Orange and the City of Costa Mesa for funding, design, construction, and maintenance of the Santa Ana Avenue and University Drive drainage and pavement improvements, resulting in a new multi-benefit park space. Presentation by Mr. Martin, Acting Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. This item before you is related to a cooperative agreement between the City and the County of Orange. This cooperative agreement involves a vacant parcel of land located at the intersection of University Drive and Santa Ana Avenue in the east side of Costa Mesa that is proposed to receive varying site upgrades and to further result as a new pocket park space. The catalyst for this agreement came about in August 2018 when the Orange County District 2 Supervisor's Office received a collection of signatures from local residents to construct a pocket park on the unincorporated county parcel in eastside Costa Mesa. The 2nd District shared the pocket park concept and signature list with Orange County Public Works Department in an effort to develop a project that would fulfill the requests of the community as well as address existing drainage concerns. Orange County Public Works was successful at being able to secure funding for the project, which includes pavement and drainage improvements, stormwater quality and ADA ramp improvements at the intersection, as well as site upgrades that include the addition of park amenities, resulting in a multi-benefit neighborhood pocket park to be utilized by the City of Costa Mesa. In early 2019, with the project concept and funding in place by the county to fund all project design and construction, City staff began increased engagement with County of Orange staff. Engagement and collaboration has continued to increase since this time, which has resulted in arriving at where we are this evening. These discussions have resulted in the proposal for Orange County Public Works and Orange County Parks to design, construct, and fund all improvements to the street and vacant parcel on both county and city property. Once all improvements have been completed by the county, it is proposed that the city will become responsible for the ongoing maintenance and operational management of the space. The street improvements on county property will be maintained by county staff, and the street improvements on city property will be maintained by city staff. The agreement is structured for the long term, since this will be an asset to the community. The agreement has an initial term of 50 years and one additional renewal option of 49 years. If in the future the county and the city mutually agree that the city should become the property owner, then an item will be brought to the City Council and Board of Supervisors for consideration of approval. To garner stakeholder input on this project, the county held 2 community meetings to solicit input and feedback regarding the park design and construction. These meetings were held in January and May of this year. With this input and with the assistance and feedback from staff, Orange County Public Works has worked to fine-tune the design of the parcel as well as provide input on the draft cooperative use agreement. The city will be given the authority to name the park as well as add it to its Park District 3 inventory. This type of joint agency project and the proposed cooperative agreement is spoken about favorably in the draft Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, which recommends an increase in park acreage in the city, which can be accomplished through several avenues, including the acquisition of new property, the repurposing of existing city property, or through cooperative use with other agencies, which is where this project falls. The concept of increasing the city's park acreage also speaks to the City Council goal of improving our neighborhoods and quality of life through improving, expanding, and adding to our neighborhood parks and open space, as well as enhancing our overall parks and community services system, including working with the county on innovative programming. The Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission reviewed the project design and agreement during their July 2019 meeting and unanimously recommended approval of the project and use agreement to the City Council. If the council provides direction this evening regarding the project and agreement, the county will continue moving forward with its timeline, with possible advertisement for construction and potential construction to begin in January of 2020. With us tonight, we have Ms. Melissa Passa, Orange County Public Works Civil Engineer Assistant, as well as her colleagues from the county. Ms. Passa has been on the project as a lead since its inception, and she will complement my presentation with a further visual presentation on the process and the project. After her presentation, we will both be available, as well as Mr. Mejia, to answer any questions that the council may have.
Okay, Ms. Passa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Martin. So tonight, I will be sharing with you some background on the project, community involvement during the development of design, the final design and improvement components, and lastly, the next steps to construct and open this community resource. So first and foremost, our mission at Orange County Public Works is to deliver infrastructure projects that enhance our communities and support our residents through three main project categories: flood protection, roadways, traffic, and bikeways. This project is programmed as a part of our 7-year capital improvement program utilizing SB1 gas tax funds and is comprised of 3 primary elements. The first being pavement and intersection improvements, the second being drainage improvements, and the third, visually enhancing this corner with some roadway landscaping, which eventually evolves into our community pocket park, which I'll discuss further. So as many of you may be familiar with this area, this is a great location to stroll with your family or your dog and enjoy sunny Southern California. However, during heavy rainfall events, this particular intersection is a little bit of a different story as illustrated in this image. Due to the location of the existing catch basin, stormwater runoff meanders along the curb and gutter along Santa Ana Avenue and University Drive to reach this catch basin, impeding the existing pedestrian crosswalk and access ramp at the eastern corner in front of the vacant corner. Furthermore, this is a non-standard intersection such that there is no fourth crosswalk connecting these corners, and last but not least, the existing corner parcel is underutilized and visually unappealing. So how are we going to fix this? Well, first, we're going to relocate the existing catch basin and separate it into 2 catch basins that collect stormwater runoff prior to reaching those crosswalks. Next, we will install a new ADA accessible curb ramp and complete that 4th crosswalk to encourage safe, continuous pedestrian path of travel. These new catch basins will also facilitate some water quality improvements by passing the runoff through a swale within the existing vacant lot and tie into some landscaping improvements. As I mentioned, this project was budgeted using SB1 gas tax funds. However, last year the community submitted a petition to build a pocket park to the 2nd District Board Office. This is a great use of the small space and the opportunity to support our community members. However, it did necessitate Orange County Public Works to reach out to our partnering agency, OC Parks, for additional funding of these amenities. The total project cost covered by the county is approximately $2 million. At this point, the real question is, how do we build this pocket park for such a small space? Well, the best way to do this is to make this park intended for hyper-local use for those immediate adjacent residents that would be walking from just a couple blocks. With this in mind, we reached out to the residents that would be using this park and asked, how can we best improve your neighborhood? And we also provided some guidance by providing some few concepts that would work in this tight of a space. So for that first community meeting in January of this year, we provided these concept designs to the community, including a tot lot, a wellness park, a dog park, and community garden. To make this meeting a little more interactive, we displayed voting boards in which community members could vote on the look, feel, and use of the park, as well as mix and match these concepts. We also provided an online survey to involve those that could not attend the meeting. We had a great outcome from the survey. Approximately over 100 participants participated in the survey, and also the most favored park use was a tot lot, followed by a wellness park. This community meeting number 2 was hosted in May to present these survey results and the final design of the park. The survey also facilitated an opportunity for community members to highlight design constraints such as safety and operation and maintenance considerations. Over these next few slides, I'll highlight those design elements throughout, just in a visual appealing nature. So next, I want to share with you some stellar renderings provided by our design consultant, GHD, to illustrate the community envisioned pocket park. So this image is an existing image from Santa Ana Avenue looking at that vacant lot. You can see that existing fencing, overgrown vegetation, as well as the existing catch basin location. With the proposed project, we will relocate that catch basin, as well as install the new ADA curb ramp and that 4th crosswalk along the corner to cross University Drive. You can also see here one of the entrances to the park, as well as the slotted perimeter fencing that highlights the safety considerations of maintaining clear line of sight from the roadway. This image here is an existing photo from University Drive. You can see here that there's current on-street parking, as well as that opaque fence and the overgrown vegetation. With our project, This will be the primary entrance of the park. It'll also be the operation and maintenance access with the removable bollard. And again, this just highlights the natural look and feel of the park, kind of tying in those back bay colors and just the native plant palette of the park itself. Here's a bird's eye view of the pocket park, which really highlights, again, that natural look and feel, the landscaping plan included in the park. It also is purely a native plant palette that is thoughtfully designed by our landscape architects, utilizing different heights, colors, and textures to really create a visually impactful landscaping plan that features all of those benefits of a native plant palette, including drought-tolerant planting and low water use. So just speaking to those design constraints developed from the community meetings, we have those 2 gate entrances as well as the perimeter fencing along the roadway. We also have the buffer area of the location of the bioswale, separating the roadway and the play area from the street. We also have security lighting that will be installed within the park to deter any unwanted presence at nighttime and again enhance sight from the roadway for patrolling purposes. We'll also be installing a noise wall to provide privacy to adjacent residents. Another really unique aspect of this project is the play equipment itself is inclusive, providing for ADA accessible children to participate in the play areas via panels, as well as the rubberized surfacing throughout the pocket park to provide ADA path of travel. And again, this also just highlights that native plant palette throughout the park itself. So you may be thinking that in Southern California, it gets incredibly hot during the summer months. We'll also be installing 2 shade structures over the play equipment and the seating areas. And then another aspect of this image shows just the impacts of the existing on-street parking for this park area. You can see that there's approximately 3 parking spaces that are impacted, and the existing driveway there is currently installed. So taking a look at the project timeline, we're seeking City Council approval of the cooperative agreement, as Justin detailed previously. Next, we'll take this project to the board for approval for the construction contract, followed by 6 months of construction to be completed in June of next year. And then the county and the contractor will start the 90-day plan establishment period to ensure all the park elements and landscaping is taken to the environment and installed properly, upon which the county would transfer operation and maintenance responsibilities to the city in September. So to tie a bow on this project and continue community involvement and enthusiasm, the county would also like to present the city the opportunity to lead park naming efforts for the monument sign at the corner of the new pocket park. Orange County Public Works is pleased to be partnering with the city and the community to deliver projects that will not only promote safety and accessibility, but also outdoor recreation through the development of unincorporated Orange County open space. Utilizing the lessons learned from planning, community engagement, and budgeting for this project, we look forward to any future opportunities to partner with the city for similar programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. Okay, council members, it looks like Councilmember Marr is only a person in the queue. Councilmember Marr?
Mr. Martin, do we anticipate having hours of operation for this park? And are we going to be closing the fence at some point?
Councilmember, I missed the first part of your question.
Oh, sorry. Do we anticipate having hours of operation, time when we choose to close the fence?
Operating hours will be dawn to dusk, just like all of our other parks.
Okay, got it. And do we know, has there been any specific outreach to that home that's immediately adjacent to the park?
I'll let Ms. Pasa answer that as they've done the public outreach.
Okay.
Ms. Pasa?
Thank you. He has been included in all the community outreach deliverables. We've also communicated with him in the field. We've seen him a few times out in his residence. So he has been invited to all the community events as noted.
Is that generally a positive interaction?
Yes, actually. Okay. Yeah. He's just also expressing his concerns of the safety aspect of it, which we incorporate in the design elements itself.
Great. Got it. And the $12,000 in O&M costs are mostly landscaping, I'm assuming?
Yes, that's correct. We based it on Ketchum-Liebolt Park, which is about the same exact size.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McGinnis?
It's perfect lead into my question. What is the size of this park?
It's not a very large parcel, as you can see through the presentation. It's about 0.15 acres.
So that's like around 6,000, 6,500 square feet?
Just a little over 5,000 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Thank you for the presentation. And I heard a lot of really good feedback about the outreach process, and I followed the website and was on the mailing list. So I just want to thank you for that. That was a really good model. Just a few questions. You talked about serving the adjacent community, walking access for people nearby. Did you guys talk about having a bike rack in the park? Is that an option?
This was considered, we wanted to look at the bike area as a regional aspect of the Pock Park. It also is on-street parking along University Drive. So for the purposes of maintaining it as a hyper-local use, as well as being able to connect it to regional paths, it was not ultimately considered in the final design.
Sorry, I don't think I understood the regional paths part.
Connectivity to existing bicycle paths was not implemented yet, so we would want to look at being able to incorporate this area into a more regional bike path ultimately.
I see. Okay, so if I understand correctly, you decided not to put a bike rack in because there are no bike paths near that go past the park?
That would connect it between University Drive and Santa Ana Avenue.
Yeah.
Paths beyond that.
Okay,
project reach.
that's interesting. Did you guys, is there a water or drinking fountain, or did you guys consider that?
We did consider it, however, to ensure that there wasn't any water features that would encourage folks to hang out at the park, we did not include water features in the park itself.
Okay. And can we, so I rode my bike past this park recently. I don't know if you heard about our monthly bike rides. We went past this park. I think it'd be really helpful, I think it's about a year from now that the park will be constructed, to have like a coming soon information type graphic on the outside of the fence so people who are walking by know what's coming. I hope sounds like that's possible. You're nodding. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, we will open this item up for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, close the public comment. Council? Councilmember Chavez?
Yeah, I think this is a creative use of space. We want to expand park space for our residents. This is going to vitalize a parcel of land that so far has not been used for really much anything. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm really happy to work with the county on this. So I'll approve the motion.
What is it? You have to make a motion. What's your motion?
I move the item.
Okay. Councilmember Marr.
Second.
All right. Councilmember Guinness is in the queue.
I just think this is a great thing. I am still thinking maybe bike. There is a great bike trail that goes up along the edge of the bay in that area and then continues down Del Mar. So maybe rethink the bike thing. But this to me is really exciting because at one time Del Mar was going to be widened, Del Mar and University Drive, significantly widened, and then there was going to be a road that went along the edge of the bay and then crossed over. And a lot of people fought that because they were concerned about the impact on the resources. And so our community garden actually is on a parcel of land that was originally acquired for widening of Del Mar. And I don't know if that applies to this parcel or not, but it's kind of a relief to see a nice neighborhood amenity preserving a nice neighborhood where we could have had a major thoroughfare had it not been for active citizens who stood up and said, we don't want this. And they fought it, and it took about 10, 15 years to finally get rid of it, get it off the master plan of highways. But people working together and being persistent and doing their homework and showing up at hearings were able to do that. And that's why this is really exciting, and I'm going to vote to approve.
Okay, great. And I'm going to support the motion. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. Thanks for bringing this park to our community. I think it's going to be a great asset for the local neighborhood. Certainly, we have a dearth of parks in that area, so really excited about that. And I will ask that we call for the question. Councilman Reynolds?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, great, thanks. Oh, Sorry, I thought everyone had spoken, so I went last, and then you must have put in while I was speaking. I'm not sure. Sorry, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the desire to put a bike rack in there. Even families that live very closely, since there isn't a bathroom at the park, it's helpful to kind of pop their kid on the bike and be able to go home back and forth quickly. So if you could get a bike rack in there, or at least space for a bike rack in the future, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to, thank you so much. Item number 2.
Thank you. This is introduction and first reading of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend Article 11.5 of Chapter 2 of Title 9 of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code relating to special event regulations. Presentation by Kelly Telford, Finance Director.
Ms. Telford?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Last spring, during the 18-19 mid-year budget review, Council approved a small reorganization, which moved a part-time position from the Finance Department to the Parks and Community Services Department, with the intent to absorb the process for approving special event permits. This was recommended to improve the efficiencies as well as the processing time it was taking in order to review the applications for special event permits, as many of the events that are requested actually occur in our city parks. The Costa Mesa Municipal Code currently delegates the responsibilities relating to the approval and issuance of special event permits to the Finance Director. Since the Parks and Community Services Department will assume these responsibilities, the Costa Mesa Municipal Code requires amendment to Article 11.5 to reflect that the Parks and Community Services Director, not the Finance Director, be responsible for approving these special event permits. The recommendation before you tonight is to introduce the first reading of the ordinance, which is purely administrative in nature and would only change the signature authority for the approval process of special event permits. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Okay, seeing no questions, I will open this item up for public comment. Seeing no one, close the public comment. Council, is there a motion? Councilmember Marr?
I move to approve the item.
Councilmember Stevens? Okay, no comments requested in the queue. Call for the question.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, item number 3. Item
Number 3 is display of the Blue Lives Matter and In God We Trust flags at City Hall. Presentation by Alma Reyes, Senior Management Analyst.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, staff is bringing forward an item for City Council consideration requested by Council Member Mansour relating to the display of the Blue Lives Matter flag, also known as the Thin Blue Line flag, and the In God We Trust flag at City Hall. Currently, there are no official celebrations designated for the display of these flags. However, there are various days when police and law enforcement are celebrated or recognized federally or through supportive organizations. Those celebration dates include Peace Officers Memorial Day, National Police Week on May 15th, National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day on January 9th. Regarding the In God We Trust flag, staff was unable to find a universal In God We Trust flag. Therefore, this flag would have to be custom made, and City Council would have to determine a period of time of when to display this flag. Currently, there are no government entities that display either flag, and staff is requesting City Council direction on whether to direct the city manager to work with the city attorney's office to draft resolutions for the display of the Blue Lives Matter flag and the In God We Trust flags. Staff also has a number of suggestions regarding alternatives to both flags. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to present the alternatives? Or,
I can do
Okay.
that. Some of the alternatives that staff was brainstorming around were actually holding celebrations on those dates that we mentioned, whether it's holding a ceremony outside of City Hall, whether it be displaying blue ribbons on our trees at City Hall or other city facilities. A more permanent proposal would be to consider in the upcoming budget cycle to fund a CIP project, which would propose a permanent structure that would honor, law enforcement, veterans, et cetera.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from council? Seeing none, I'll open this. Okay. Please put your name in the queue if you have a question. Okay. Councilmember Guinness, you have to hit your mic again because you undid your mic.
Oh, it says mic is on according, it sounds like it's on.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I actually did find several In God We Trust flags, not counting the Florida state flag, which has their state seal, which says In God We Trust. But there wasn't a universal one either. But I don't think, should that be the choice of the city, that we would actually need to get a custom-made flag, although I don't know that that's something that the council will want to move forward on anyway. But I would just like to offer that there's some out there. I don't know if they're any kind of good quality, but there are some out there. And I'm not sure, I know this was requested by Council Member Mansour, and I don't know if he had a particular one in mind either. I do agree that doing something on these special days is probably in order. And has the city, I know when we do Christmas, we have the light show, and I think that's pretty expensive. But is there something we could do where we utilize the blue light theme, which is actually used in various areas? Have we explored that at all, or is that just sort of, we're at a preliminary point on that?
We are in a preliminary point, but that was discussed. That is a possibility that staff can look into the cost. And that is one of the other options that we can have to commemorate law enforcement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mansour.
Thank you. Well, I did request that this item come forward, and I do have some comments. I'm going to be brief regardless, but just some initial comments that, first of all, thank you, Ms. Reyes, for your work on the staff report. I appreciate it. So I get some of the concerns that I've heard about the Blue Lives Matter flag, and there are some other options that were mentioned, and I have a couple ideas that I think can be discussed. So I'm just going to, just so that if anyone's here to speak on the Blue Lives Matter specifically, I'm not going to be bringing that specific flag forward tonight. I have a couple other ideas, and I'd really like to hear from the public, and then I have a couple more comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Reyes, for being here so late. I have a few questions regarding the thin blue line flag. Actually, my first question is regarding our own police department. Do we have a badge for our police department or a flag that they use?
I'm going to defer that question to Chief Sharpneck if he's still in the audience. Chief?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. You're asking about an insignia that we have? We have a badge outside of this. Yes, we have a badge that's displayed not only on our uniforms, but throughout the police department, and they're all identical.
Okay. But no like flag for the department, correct? Just the insignia, just the badge?
No, any flags that you'll see around the department or on the vehicles are the American flag.
All right, thank you. And then this is more for staff. From my understanding, the thin blue line flag does modify the U.S. flag, correct?
It is an altered version of the U.S. flag, yes.
Okay, and then from my understanding, that has not been approved by the U.S. Federal Code of Flags, correct?
As far as approval goes, but the code does state that we are not to alter the U.S. flag.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yeah, my question's for the chief. Back up. Going to get you some exercise tonight. I wanted to ask you to describe the community policing aspect of our police department. I recall that the first time you and I had a conversation, that was one of the first things that you brought up and spoke very proudly of. So if you could share what that is and why it's such an important part of our department.
Sure, I'll try to be brief. We could probably be here for a couple hours on it, but community policing is basically the philosophy that drives our organization. It's the heart and soul upon which our officers and staff, non-sworn as well, go about their duties in our community. It's about being inclusive, being in partnership with our community members, responding to their needs, addressing their issues in a timely fashion, treating them with respect and dignity when they're victims of crimes. It's about treating them like if we were in their shoes or our families lived here and we're going through the same issues, that's how we would want to be treated. And so we do that not only as it relates to, the day in, day out responding to calls for service, but also as it relates to enforcement. And one of the biggest things that we strive to do is to build and maintain public trust. And public trust is something that's very, very important to law enforcement across the country, and no different here in the city of Costa Mesa. But we want the community to feel, no matter who they are, where they live, what their circumstances are, that when they come and they call the police or come into an interaction with us, that they can trust that they're going to be treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and be treated like any one of our family members. And so we strive every single day to do that. In addition, we also host events to give people a greater understanding. And at the end of the day, the community of Costa Mesa, it's important for us, it's important for me as the leader to feel that they have the confidence in us that we can come out and do the service and do all of these things in an exemplary fashion. I could go on and on, but am I hitting your question here?
Yes, it's very helpful. And I've had just tiny glimpses of that through ride-alongs and some of the events that the department does host, National Night Out and the Coffee with a Cop, to get a sense of that. And always been impressed by the professionalism of your staff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this item. Please come to the podium.
As everyone else has said, Costa Mesa PD rocks. Several years ago, there were a group of women that put 2,000 blue flags throughout the city, and we were asked to remove them. So, yes. And
Not by us, not by any of us.
wasn't by you, wasn't by you. But the thin blue line flag is for law enforcement. So what do we do with the fire department? What do we do with other groups that serve? And I think we have other alternatives that come up. And I think the blue lights, I love those. Community, I'd love to see something done with a police community on those days where we have something in the mall with booths and hot dogs, and get the police to be able to come out in their polo shirts and be this community individual with the public. The flag, I have no problem with the flag, but if we're going to do it for the police, we need to do it for the fire, and we need to consider it for others. And with the "In God We Trust," I ask, which God? Up here is a Buddhist sign. Being a Buddhist for 45 years, my God may not be in the same form as your God. And so I'm not sure what the flag will say, and when will you fly the flag? I mean, will we fly the flag on Christmas Eve? I don't know what that "In God We Trust" flag will, what will it emanate throughout the city. And then sort of like the Buddhist sign, it's been around since before ancient Egypt and before it was trashed during the 1930s, but it's still a very powerful sign in the Buddhist community, in the Hindu community. And so I certainly think that these flags have meaning, and I'd like you to consider it, that if you're going to do for one, If we do for the police, we certainly need to do for the fire. If we do for the fire, then I think we have others that have been services to the community and need to do that as well. But Costa Mesa PD, they rock. Our fire department, they're hot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill McCarty, Costa Mesa. So yeah, I had this whole thing queued up, but we're going to just cut right through a lot of that. So I'm glad that the thin blue line flag is being retracted. It's too loaded. The whole Blue Lives Matter thing is just too much of a political counterpoint to the Black Lives Matter movement. And so I'm not even going to go into that. So, but I do have an alternate suggestion, and that is, why not display the police union flag? I mean, if we really want to, what better way to show that we care about the well-being of our law enforcement officers than by supporting the association that ensures police are fairly compensated, protected from unnecessary danger, and able to enjoy a fruitful retirement. So the thing I wonder is, I wonder how that will sit with the people who spend so much time demonizing the police union on one hand, but then call for a Blue Lives Matter flag on the other. So it should be interesting to talk about political landmines, which this whole exercise is, by the way. Maybe that's one they can try to avoid. So, and I don't think the In God We Trust flag should be considered at all. The city's already displaying that motto on the wall here, and we begin each council meeting with a prayer, so I don't think we should further erode that separation between church and state that is constitutionally mandated. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public comment. Council. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
So I'd like to move to receive and file the report with the direction that staff work with the police department, and in particular the Police Officers Association, to come up with some type of a suitable memorial for a way to commemorate officers that have died in the line of duty, to recognize the sacrifices that they make and the risks that they take every day in their job. Not the thin blue line or the Blue Lives Matter flag, but something along the lines that you've talked about, some type of an event, whatever. But I think we really need to hear from the folks that we're honoring as to what would be meaningful and appropriate for them.
Councilmember Mar.
Second, and I just want to add, agree with that wholeheartedly in terms of specifically May 15th, Peace Officers Memorial Day. We've suffered loss within our own public safety community over the last couple of years, and doing something appropriate next May would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And would the maker of the motion also entertain National Law Enforcement Appreciation Weeks beginning January 9th? And we could have a variety of activities that week, blue ribbons, lights, invite the community to participate.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Councilmember Mar?
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Mansour?
Oh, do you want to?
Oh, I thought you already spoke to it. Okay, go ahead. Ask for the floor again. Okay.
So anyway, I appreciate that. I think we're on the same page with the issue with the, based on the comments, with honoring the police officers and not moving forward the Blue Lives Matter flag. In terms of the In God We Trust flag, there's a couple comments about that. I mean, we say In God We Trust right up here. I'm a Catholic Christian. I've had all my sacraments, sent my kids to Catholic school and everything like that. But as one of the speakers pointed out, we have a whole broad range of people that worship in different ways in the city. There's dozens of places of worship. And the beauty of that is they can do that. And under the First Amendment, the Free Exercise Clause and the Establishment Clause, that gives them the right to, be Catholic or Jewish or Protestant or Buddhist or none of the above. There's no flag, and I think it's quite enough that we have the phrase up above us, and that we do our moment of solemn expression.
Councilmember Mar, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay. Councilmember Mansour.
There we go. All right. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming here and your patience. So I want to clarify something. So The Blue Lives Matter, well, first of all, thank you in advance for allowing me to speak without interruption. Everyone's been civil tonight, and I appreciate that, and I'd like the same opportunity. So the Blue Lives Matter is the American flag. I know people can't see it. I don't have something to put on the screen, but it's the American flag with the blue line through it. So I get the concerns that people have about changing the American flag. So that is my reason for not putting that forward. But there is a separate, distinctly different flag that was started, I think, back in the 50s when the term blue line, the thin blue line was put forward. And that is a black flag with a blue line. And that is all it is. It is not the American flag. So that is what I would like to suggest we do as an alternative. You know, our law enforcement officers put their lives on the line every day, as evidenced by all the shootings. Their lives have value, and there is no reason that we as a city should be afraid to make that statement publicly. As far as In God We Trust is our national motto. So I see no reason not to fly it over City Hall unless we no longer believe it to be a true statement. It's recognized by case law, and we have it behind us. So this issue did originally come up when the LGBTQ flag came forward, and that flag may mean different things to different people. To some, it may mean that we should treat everyone with respect, which, if that were the sole symbolism of the flag, I would support it, but I did not support it. To some, however, it may mean intolerance or hostility to anyone who morally or due to religious conviction does not support some of the things in the LGBTQ agenda, even though they do not support harassment or violence. So I personally think it was a mistake to fly the LGBTQ flag. And I believe there's legal exposure to flying that flag. I have spoken with attorneys, and they have told me there is legal exposure with that. So any concerns about legal exposure that have been expressed to us, in my opinion, have been one-sided. So if you deny these tonight and keep the I want to say one other thing before I make that comment. I've said this before, disagreement is not hate. Many people here at City Hall, as Mayor Pro Tem Stevens mentioned, have different backgrounds, different faith. We all have differences in our background. Some people are non-Christian, some people are Christian, some people are Jewish, some people are Muslim, and there are many people in those communities who disagree with the LGBTQ flag and what it implies. They have differing views. The LGBTQ flag could be seen as hostile to their views and as encouraging suppression of their speech by discouraging open disagreement with the flag. So that opens up to some legal liability. So if you deny these flags tonight and keep the LGBTQ, it is hypocritical and shows favoritism towards certain groups. And it's the worst thing about it, it's government sponsored. So that is my reason. So with that, I'm going to make a substitute motion. It doesn't sound like there's going to be support for it. And I won't go into huge detail unless there's support to direct staff to come back with a resolution to bring forward a flag, the thin blue line flag, and also In God We Trust flag.
Motion dies for, you have to, I'm sorry. Okay, so just for clarity, Ms. Green, you have to make a substitute motion. You have
I
to
did.
No,
Oh,
you have
I'm
to hit-
sorry. Well, it shows how often I made a motion on this computer. Okay, so, yeah,
the button, make motion. Second.
got it.
Is there a second? Okay. Councilmember Guinness.
Well, I'm seconding for discussion. I actually am thinking that we probably should just not have anything up there but the California flag and the United States flag and leave it at that. Because what I'm hearing is, number one, we don't want to look like a circus tent after a while, because it seems like if once we open it to some, we should open it to all. But what I find really dismaying is that a symbol that should engender respect for one group actually engenders possibly antipathy, well, definitely antipathy, but possibly even fear for another group, not because of anything that the first group that we're trying to show respect to has done, but just because other people have sort of appropriated the symbol or have assigned negative connotations to a symbol that should be a sign of pride. And that's very sad. And in some ways I want to say, well, just take the symbol back. You can't have it. But the problem with that is once it's taken and it's all dirtied up, it seems like you can never clean it off again, which is really sad. But if it is the case that by showing, indicating that we respect our police, that somehow we don't respect certain other groups, then what does that say about the rainbow flag? Because to me, that was a symbol of respect for all groups. But if it's not, perhaps it's saying we respect one group more than another. And I don't think we should do these flags, but maybe we shouldn't do any of them. Because like I say, pretty soon we're going to look like a circus tent. Or, as from Ms. Spadoni's presentation, we could look like one of the stupas with all the flags on it, which may or may not be a good thing. So I did second for discussion, but I'm still under debate. But it really bothers me that a symbol that should be a symbol of pride for a certain group is a symbol of that some people would disdain it, that some people would disdain a symbol that should show pride and respect for our police, that is somehow considered racist or a sign of fear. That's heartbreaking, that we can't have a flag that shows respect for our police. I'm not saying necessarily the U.S. flag thing, without having people feel insulted. And if that's the case, then we really, like I say, let's just stick to the United States flag, the California flag, and get rid of anything else. Thank you.
So, Councilor McGinnis, just to clarify, do you support his motion with your second or not?
Well, I seconded it for discussion.
Okay. Is anyone, so we're going to call for the question on the substitute motion.
There's a bunch of requests.
Well, but these requests were on the floor for the original motion. They're not related to the second motion. So, do you still want to keep your second?
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay. Motion dies for lack of a second. The original motion is still on the floor. And Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think for me, the one thing that I found interesting throughout this process alongside the LGBTQ pride flag was the fact that we already fly a third flag on our flag staff, and it's the POW flag, the prisoner of war flag. And I remember when we first discussed the LGBTQ plus pride flag, I asked staff, and I asked multiple members of staff, when did this first fly? And no one had an answer. No one could give me a date when this flag was first flown. So I think the irony of all this discussion is, as a city, we've been flying another flag apart from the U.S. Federal flag and the California state flag. In terms of the thin blue line flag, I just personally feel there's better ways to support our police officers. Chief Rodriguez mentioned this earlier, thanks to Councilmember Reynolds' question regarding community policing. They did an amazing job. I shared earlier before and more in closed session how growing up, I grew up with an innate fear of the police. For whatever reason, our history's background, I won't go in too deeply, kind of led me and those of my heritage to kind of be fearful of the police. And I've seen our police officers go above and beyond to rectify a prior fear I've had. That to me is remarkable. I've had friends who graduated from the Police Explorer Academy who feel immense social pride from being police officers in the city. I look at our police officers when they're doing their work and on their ride-alongs, and they're always doing their best for our community. And I just feel like we need something more tangible to show them thank you. I think the idea of having a week-long festivities for them is beautiful. I mean, they deserve it, in my opinion. And one thing I do want to throw out there, and I don't want to include this in the motion because I know we're kind of just looking into ideas for the future, but if we are considering a monument of some sorts, I would love to see it in Ketchum-Limeville Park. I mentioned this last council meeting. That park is named after 2 officers who died in line of duty in our city. That park is literally one of the only 2 parks in my district. And every day when I go home from work, I see kids using that park. It's split in 2 parts, really 3. The right-hand side is a grassy field area where I see people read books all the time. To the back, far right, there's a soft touch playground that kids use, that I used growing up. And the left-hand side, there's flat concrete, which is one of the only locations where young residents can skate in a proper location that's not the street. I think for us, it'd be beautiful to really honor the service of our police officers by putting a monument in that park, if that's what we think is a good thing to do. Because at the end of the day, and I've always said this, our police officers take care of our city. When things go bad, they're the first people we call, and I really feel like that's the best way to honor them. And for that, I'll support the motion.
Okay, Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes, I'm going to be supporting the motion. It sounds like there's sort of unanimous support here for our police department. I would be surprised if it was anything different. It sounds like we all want to honor both Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We're just sort of wrestling over how. And that's why I really appreciate the motion, because it's, let's let your department decide what's going to be meaningful in ways to honor your department, honor the service that our members are doing on a daily basis. So I think it's great to let them be a part of that decision, and absolutely support staff working with you on that. Thank you.
Councilmember Mansour?
Yeah, if you're going to put up a monument for one, let's put it up for everybody. The point here is you're putting up a flag for one particular group, but not others, and you're showing favoritism by using the heavy hand of government to promote one group over another. So I think that's obvious. So Ms. Guinness, you had supported the LGBTQ flag, but tonight you say that you would go back to supporting, just the American flag, the California, the POW, MIA flag, and I think we fly the city flag. If you were to make a motion that directs staff to bring that back, so we go back to the way it was and only fly those flags, I would second that. I don't know that there's support on this council tonight, because I think they're going to go back to that one special flag that they want to promote and leave others out in the cold. But if you make that motion, I would second it.
Okay, we have to, Councilmember Guinness, I would like to speak to the motion. Is that okay? Do you have something else you want to say as to this motion that's on the floor?
I was going to respond to Councilmember Mansour, so moved.
Well, you have to push the button if you want to make a motion.
Oh, yeah. Mine is not working, because all evening I've tried to, it's never registered. Several times, I hit it like 3-4 times. And on just routine.
Okay, Ms. Green?
Once we already have a motion on the floor,
right,
and we've already done a substitute motion,
right,
then I would have to manually do it at this point.
Okay, so excuse me, Councilmember Mansour, if you could just let me lead the meeting. Councilmember Guinness, would you please request the cue, and then I will let you have the microphone. Can you request the cue? Yes.
Okay.
And then Ms. Green.
Okay. So, are you going?
What's your motion?
I'm making the motion.
A substitute motion?
Yes.
Okay. So, there we go. All right.
What's your motion?
As worded by Councilmember Mansour, although I don't want to imply disrespect for POWs and MIAs, and so I'm not sure if we took that down, whether that would imply disrespect for them.
What's your motion?
That we fly just what we've flown for the last 30 years, city, state, or maybe even 40, I don't know. And the POW MIA, if that is still relevant even. I mean, the POW MIA, is that still a relevant thing?
Okay, motion dies for lack of a second. You haven't seconded.
Okay.
You have to push the button.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, is this is.
I see no request in the queue. Call the question on the substitute
Oh, I don't
motion.
get to address it?
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were doing, was speaking to your motion. Please.
No, I was just making the
continue.
motion. Well, I sort of addressed it previously.
Yeah.
The problem is what we're seeing is the thin blue line, apparently while trying to show respect to one group, is interpreted as disrespect to another. And when I voted for the rainbow flag, I felt it was respect for everybody, but apparently now what I'm hearing is if you show respect to one group with a flag on the flagpole, there's an implicit assumption of disrespect for other people. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from the people who don't want us to do the thin blue line flag. So therefore, we shouldn't be doing any of them, because the implicit argument that I've heard tonight is once you say you respect Group A, you don't respect Group B. So that would be true no matter who we're wanting on our flag. So therefore, we should just keep it simple.
Councilmember Mansour.
Just clarifying that the motion is for the United States flag, the California flag, POW, MIA, and the city flag.
Councilmember Guinness, is that your motion?
That's fine, yeah.
Councilmember Mansour, do you have anything else to add?
That's it.
Okay, call for the question.
The motion fails 2-5 with council members Mar, Chavez, Reynolds, Mayor Pro Tem Stevenson, Mayor Foley voting no.
Okay, we're going to go back to the original motion that was on the floor.
Let me go back to
or
that.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens' motion, seconded by Councilmember Mar.
Hold on. Yeah, there we go.
And I haven't spoken to the motion yet, and all I will say is that I think showing appreciation for law enforcement is by actions, not just by symbolism. You know, I'm a strong advocate for public safety, and I show that by my actions. I support our police officers when they need competitive, fair pay, benefits, health benefits, mental health screenings, exercise equipment. I support our law enforcement officers for getting the training that they need, getting the equipment that they need to do their jobs, the technology that they need to do their jobs, making sure that we as a council are united in showing respect for our police officers, our men and women of our Costa Mesa Police Department in the community, so that we have community support for our law enforcement. And that's my way of showing through my actions and through my votes that I support law enforcement. And so I'll continue to do that. I love the idea of doing more during those already recognized national recognition days. And I don't know why anyone would take down blue ribbons around the trees or tell you to, Ms. Bodoni. That seems outrageous to me. So. Okay, we're going to be putting lots of blue ribbons around the trees this year. So call for the question. Councilmember Guinness, can you vote, please?
Motion carries 6.
You got it.
Motion carries 6-1 with Councilmember Mansour voting no.
Okay. At this time in the meeting, we will have any announcements? Are there any announcements? Additional councilmember committee reports, comments, or suggestions? Councilmember Mar.
This came up during the conversation of the new pocket park, and I know I've requested this before, so to the city manager, could we bring back a naming policy for both parks and buildings, please? We tried this a couple of years ago and didn't get very far with naming a building. It'd be nice if we could actually do that. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yeah, thank you everyone for staying this late. I always appreciate seeing you guys in the audience. I too felt a bit inspired by the new park we're going to be working with the county on. And there's a very similar parcel of land in my district. It's actually off of Victoria and Pomona. So in case those don't know, that street used to lead to another nearby street that was closed to make a cul-de-sac, and it's now a pocket in the street that's full of trees that's not being used. It's just dead space. So if we can look how we can make that into a pocket park as well, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Councilmember Guinness.
We had, during public comments, someone had requested that we lobby the Orange County Fair Board about I don't even remember the issue of sustainability, I believe. I would encourage residents who do wish to make their views known to the board of the Orange County Fair and Events Center that the Fair Board meets the fourth Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. There is a part for public comments during their meetings just at 10 a.m., yeah. Oh, 9 a.m. Oh, it used to be 10. 9 a.m., sorry about that. Fourth Thursday of the month at 9 a.m., and there is a period for public comments during their meetings, and so I encourage you to attend. It's always interesting there. Thank you.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Yes, so we got a legislative update at the beginning of this meeting, and I just wanted to make sure that we were following up on some of the requests that were sent on bills to support. There's a number sitting in front of the governor still. I'm particularly interested in SB 127, which requires complete streets approaches on Caltrans roadways. Thank you.
Okay, and I have, hold on one second. I'd like to adjourn the meeting in recognition of one of our amazing Costa Mesa Police Department Community Service Specialists, Christina Goodfellow. She passed away on Wednesday, September 12th, after battling cancer. In 1984, Chris started as a police cadet, eventually working her way up to a community service specialist. She worked extensively in the field and at the front desk. She was well known and highly regarded in our community. Chris will certainly be missed, and her contributions to our city and our police department will not be forgotten. Her family, friends, and community are in our thoughts and prayers, and that was something that we had posted on the Costa Mesa Police Department Instagram today. I knew Chris, and I know we'll all miss her very much, and very sad for her battle that she waged. I know it was a kind of a difficult one, so I'd like to adjourn the meeting in recognition and honor of Chris Goodfellow. Good night.